चीज इस पे भी डिस्कस करनी थी। ये जो अनहाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट का सजेशन दिया जाता है, ये एग्जैक्टली exactly क्या मतलब, लोग सजेशन क्या देना चाह रहे हैं एनहाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट से? ये कोई समझा पाएगा? नीरज जी, सौरभ जी, एम, एनीबडी?
क्या सर, फिर से पूछिएगा।
ये एनहाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट जब लोग कहते हैं कि भाई कास्ट खत्म कर दो, तो मतलब ये कहना क्या चाह रहे हैं लोग?
ये जितना थोड़ा मुझे पता है, मतलब ये पहली बात तो ये उस बुक को लाते हैं ना, बी आर अम्बेडकर वाली।
हाँ, उसी के
एंड
रेफरेंस से, हाँ।
जी, और मैंने जितना ध्यान दिया ना आंदो जी, मतलब अगेन यू नो वी बोथ क्लेम, आई मीन आर बोथ साइड्स क्लेम दैट वी आर अगेंस्ट कास्ट, राइट? एंड वी आर अगेंस्ट कास्टिज्म एंड व्हाट नॉट। हाउएवर, हम जितनी कम बात करते हैं, मतलब कि हम इग्नोर करते हैं, जितना इग्नोर करोगे हमारे हिसाब से वो कास्टिज्म हटाना है। उनके हिसाब से है कि हम जितनी ज्यादा बात करेंगे, वो ज्यादा बात करते रहते हैं, ठीक है, पूरा टाइम कास्टिज्म की बात करते रहेंगे, और क्या ये कास्टिज्म हो वो कास्टिज्म, उनका अलग उनका वे अलग है, ठीक है, कास्टिज्म को हटाने का। लेकिन मेरे को नहीं लगता कि वो कास्टिज्म को एक्चुअली हटाना चाहते, बिकॉज आई रिमेम्बर जब लास्ट टाइम पे मतलब सॉरी इसी साल जब यूपी इलेक्शंस हुए थे, तो सारे के सारे तो बात वही कर रहे थे, ओह इस कास्ट ने इतना वोट किया, उस कास्ट ने उसना वोट किया, वगैरह वगैरह, ठीक है। तो पूरा टाइम तो कास्ट की बात करते रहते हैं, वो घंटे का हटाना चाहते हैं वो, मतलब दे, आई मीन दे वांट पीपल टू ओन अप टू देयर कास्ट स्पेसिफिकली। फॉर एग्जांपल दे कीप ऑन मेंशनिंग दलित्स, राइट, बिकॉज दे वांट दलित्स टू आइडेंटिफाई देमसेल्व्स फ्रॉम देयर कास्ट रादर देन हिंदुइज्म। तो इतना मुझे पता है कि ज्यादा तो ये कास्टिज्म को प्रमोट, आई मीन इनडायरेक्टली आई फील लाइक दे आर प्रमोटिंग कास्टिज्म rather than wanting to remove it, or yeah.
हाँ, हाँ, पर मैं जो एक इसका सोल्यूशन भी अंबेडकर जी बता के गए हैं, एनहाइलेशन ऑफ कास्ट नामक पुस्तक लिखी थी, मैं जब उसके बारे में जानना चाहता था एग्जैक्टली उन्होंने सजेशन क्या दिया है। ये जो कास्ट, उन्होंने पहले तो ये कहा कि कास्ट बहुत बुरी चीज़ है, हिंदुइज्म में होती है, ये होता है वो होता है, पर साथ साथ उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि इसको ख़त्म करें, कैसे करा जाए। तो वो जो बार बार लोग आके रिकमेंड करते हैं कि भाई कास्ट को एनहाइलेट कर दीजिए, आप अपने नाम के आगे अपना गुप्ता लगाना छोड़ दीजिए, और डोगरा लगाना छोड़ दीजिए, और खत्री लगाना छोड़ दीजिए। तो मैं उस पर थोड़ा सा पूछना चाह रहा था, व्हाट वाज द, इज दैट द ओनली सोल्यूशन, और इज इट समथिंग मोर? व्हाट वाज सजेस्टेड बाय अंबेडकर?
मैंने बुक तो पढ़ी नहीं है, आई हैव जस्ट हर्ड पीपल, तो मे बी कोई और आंसर कर सकता है।
मनोज जी, आपका नाम मनोज जी था ना, 7776 जी, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग?
नहीं, महेश महेश
महेश जी, सॉरी, माय मिस्टेक, हाँ। तो महेश जी, क्या कहते हैं, ये हिंदुस्तान की जाति व्यवस्था पे बहुत प्रश्न उठते रहते हैं विश्व स्तर पे, तो इस पे आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
क्या कहेंगे इसके बारे में? ये तो प्रश्न उठाने वाले उठाते ही रहेंगे, उनको तो नीचा दिखाना ही है।
हाँ, नहीं, पर इसमें नीचा दिखाने वाली मतलब, भाई नीचा हमको तब दिखे जब आप या मैं कोई कास्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन प्रैक्टिस कर रहा हूँ। मैंने तो नहीं देखा, मैं प्रैक्टिस करता या मेरे पूरे परिवार में किसी को प्रैक्टिस करते हुए कास्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन। हाँ, तो हाँ,
डिस्क्रिमिनेशन समाज में है, पहले ज्यादा था, अब कम हुआ है वो। उसके
हाँ,
लिए रिलीजन जिम्मेदार नहीं है, हिंदू धर्म सनातन धर्म जिम्मेदार नहीं है, लोगों की सोच उसके लिए जिम्मेदार है।
हाँ, नहीं, पर उसमें से जो टेक्स्ट लोग उठा के देते हैं, कहते हैं ये भाई आपके ही स्क्रिप्चर्स में लिखा हुआ है, इसमें लिखा हुआ है,
वो
उसमें
तो
लिखा
मैंने
हुआ है।
स्टडी नहीं किया है, उसके बारे में मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकता हूँ। मगर हमारा, जहाँ तक मैं जानता हूँ, हमारा धर्म जो सिखाता है अच्छी बातें सिखाता है। देखिए, जो भी इंसान रहता है ना, अ, कोई भी भगवान नहीं रहता है, कोई भी 100% हर चीज उसमें अच्छा ही रहना चाहिए ऐसा नहीं होता है, उसमें भी बुराई रहती है। कोई भी इंसान परफेक्ट नहीं होता है, तो सब जगह अच्छा बुरा चीज रहता ही है। तो अगर हम ऐसा चीज देखेंगे, अमेरिका जो इतना बड़ा पावरफुल देश है और जो बहुत तरक्की किया है, वो क्या है, उसमें गलत चीज नहीं है, उसकी सोच मानसिकता में गलत चीज नहीं है, कितना बुरा किया है दुनिया के लिए उसने।
हाँ, हाँ,
किया है ना।
नहीं, दैट इज वो तो वॉट अबाउटरी हो गई कि भाई उसने बुरा करा तो हम भी मतलब
नहीं नहीं,
कर सकते हैं।
हम
हाँ,
बुरा करने के लिए
पर हम लोग आज दूसरे की बात नहीं करने आ रहे। हम लोग ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि वर्णा और कास्ट सिस्टम को लेके जिस तरीके के बातें उठती रहती हैं और कई बार जेन्युइनली उठती रहती हैं।
वरना
हाँ, हाँ।
जो वर्णा सिस्टम तक मैं जानता हूँ उसके बारे में बोलो तो मनुस्मृति है, उसमें जो वर्णाश्रम है वो जो क्या हमारी ये लाइफस्टाइल जो जीने की समाज का जीने का तरीका है उसके लिए एक पैटर्न बना के उन्होंने पेश किया था, वो उसको फॉलो करते थे। उसमें क्या है, वो 4 वर्णाश्रम में कोई भी किधर भी जा सकता था अपने कर्म के हिसाब से। जन्म तो वो उस कैटेगरी में आते थे मगर अपने कर्म से वो कौन सी भी कैटेगरी में जा सकते थे। जैसे कि अभी क्षत्रिय से वो ब्राह्मण भी बन सकते थे, ब्राह्मण से क्षत्रिय भी बन सकते थे अपने कर्म के हिसाब से। शूद्र से वो वैश्य बन सकते थे, क्षत्रिय। वो सब उदाहरण बहुत सारे हैं, जैसे कि हम
चिराग जी
परशुराम।
डिसएग्री कर रहे हैं आपसे। चिराग जी डिसएग्री कर रहे हैं आपसे।
मैं मेरे को सिर्फ एक सवाल कहना है कि
नहीं नहीं,
अभी
मैंने
मैं
बात
समझो, अब
नहीं
मैं जा
की।
रहा हूँ, अब मैं आपके पास मिलने आ रहा हूँ। मैंने आपको 2 रुपए दिए तो मैं हो गया वैश्य। अब मैंने आपको एक चाटा दिया तो मैं हो गया क्षत्रिय। अब मैंने आपको ज्ञान दिया तो मैं हो गया ब्राह्मण। और मैंने आपको कुछ जैसे आपके शरीर पर कुछ गंदा लगा था तो मैं हो गया शूद्र। ऐसा होता है क्या?
नहीं नहीं नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है।
तो आपके हिसाब से कैसे होता है चिराग जी? क्या है
बाय
ये
बर्थ।
वर्ल्ड
इट्स बाय
व्यवस्था
बर्थ।
और
ये
जाति?
बर्थ
हाँ,
से होता है।
हाँ।
अरे आंदोलन जी, ये जिहादी है। अभी बोल रहा था इंडिया से मुझे नफरत है, पाकिस्तान से मुझे
ठीक है,
प्यार
ठीक
है।
है,
अभी लास्ट
ठीक
टाइम,
है,
अभी
ठीक
थोड़ी
है,
देर पहले।
ठीक, कोई बात नहीं, बोल लेने देते हैं। हाँ, पूछ लेते हैं इनका क्या मत है।
अच्छा, ये जो कह रहा है ये बंदा, मैंने कहा भाई ये गोरों का दिया हुआ नाम है इंडिया, तो मैं क्यों
तो
मानूं
तू
इसे? मैं
पाकिस्तान
तो
से
अपना
प्यार है
भारत
ना?
नाम मानूंगा।
अभी तूने बोला ना।
अच्छा, ठीक है,
अरे
ठीक
भाई
है, ठीक
उनने
है,
अपना खुद से
एक काम
नाम दिया है,
दूसरे
खुद
रूम
का
का
नाम नहीं
चर्चा
लिया
यहाँ पे
उनने।
ना करिए।
यार
हाँ,
आंदो जी को हैंडल
हाँ,
करने दो।
हाँ, मतलब यहाँ पे वो दूसरे रूम की
हाँ
चर्चा यहाँ नहीं करते हैं। यहाँ पे हम लोग आराम से अपना हाँ बातचीत जो कर रहे हैं वो करते हैं।
हाँ।
चिराग जी अपना व्यू पॉइंट रख लो, आपके हिसाब से
वो
कास्ट सिस्टम क्या है
इट इज
और
बाय
मतलब
बर्थ।
वर्णा सिस्टम क्या
ये
है? हाँ।
बर्थ से होता है। ये बर्थ से
अच्छा,
होता है,
अच्छा।
आपके प्रीवियस जन्म
हम्म,
के कर्म से आपका ये जन्म होता है।
जी,
बस।
बस ये। ओके।
और इट कैन नॉट बी चेंज।
हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स इट कैन नॉट बी चेंज। अगर जिस फैमिली में आप पैदा हुए वो फैमिली थोड़ी ना चेंज कर सकता कोई।
यस।
हाँ।
नहीं, अपने कर्म के हिसाब से वो जो हासिल कर रहा है वो कर सकते हैं ना।
आप
परशुराम
अगले
जी
जन्म
कौन
में
से
बन सकते हो सर, लेकिन ये जन्म में आपका जो
तो
कर्म
चिराग
है
जी,
वो
बन
वही
सकते हैं भाई
रहेगा।
साहब।
हाँ, हाँ, पर चिराग जी एक प्रश्न जैसे मैं आपसे पूछूं, आप वर्ल्ड व्यवस्था को मानते हो जिस तरह से हमारे शास्त्रों में लिखी हुई है?
यस।
अच्छा, और अगर आप बताना चाहो तो आप वर्ल्ड व्यवस्था के किस स्तंभ से आते हैं?
मैं वैश्य से आता हूँ।
अच्छा, अच्छा, और आप करते क्या है मित्र?
हाँ, हमारा फैमिली बिजनेस ही है।
अच्छा, तो आप
अच्छा,
मतलब
मतलब अभी
वैश्य
मैं
धर्म।
स्टूडेंट हूँ। मैं स्टूडेंट हूँ।
अच्छा, अभी तो आप स्टूडेंट हैं। अच्छा, 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 ठीक है। चलिए आगे पे बात करते हैं। कोई और कुछ बोलना चाहेगा? अल जी हंस रहे थे और अब्दुल जी उल्टा अंगूठा दिखा रहे थे, सहमत नहीं थे आपके विचार से। चिराग जी, अब्दुल जी आप किस बात से सहमत नहीं है चिराग जी की?
ये चेंज नहीं हो सकता है। ये थोड़ा बहुत फ्लेक्सिबल है, कुछ
मैंने भी
रेयर
तो वही
केसेस
कहा।
में ये चेंज हो सकता है।
जैसे कोई एग्जाम्पल दे थोड़ा सा।
जैसे एक उपनिषद में स्टोरी है सत्यकाम जाबाल की। तो उसकी माँ एक दासी थी, नगर दासी। तो उसके पिता का कुल गोत्र वगैरह कुछ पता नहीं था, बट जो गौतम ऋषि है उन्होंने उसको ब्रह्म ज्ञान के लिए अपना शिष्य चुना और उसको उपनयन संस्कार करवाया, बिना उसका गोत्र कुल या वर्ण जाने। तो ये रेयर केसेस में चेंज हो भी सकता है। ये उतना रिजिड भी नहीं है जितना कास्ट सिस्टम है।
ओके। हम्म। तो चिरागी ये इन्होंने एक्सेप्शन बता दिया आपको। हैरी जी, यू
यस
वांट
यस,
टू
ये
से
होता है
समथिंग?
होता है। ये 2
या
ऋषियों ने किया था शायद। वो शायद से शूद्र से ब्राह्मण हुए थे, मुझे पता है इसके बारे में।
अच्छा, हैरी जी आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे?
हाँ हाँ, तो जैसे कि मुझे लगता है आप लोगों ने डिस्कस कर ही लिया। सबसे पहले नमस्कार आप सभी को। तो
नमस्कार।
मेरे
अभी
भाई
अभी
साहब हैं।
डिस्कशन चालू हुआ है, खत्म नहीं हुआ है। हाँ, 5 मिनट पहले
अच्छा
चालू
अच्छा
हुआ।
अच्छा।
हाँ।
हाँ हाँ। तो सबसे पहली बात समझने की ये है कि जो वर्ण व्यवस्था है या जिसको हम वर्णा सिस्टम बोलते हैं, ठीक है, वो एक अलग सिस्टम है और कास्ट सिस्टम एक अलग सिस्टम है। ये दोनों ही अलग अलग सिस्टम्स है। वर्ण सिस्टम्स का जो वर्णा सिस्टम है, वर्ण व्यवस्था जिसको हम बोलते हैं, उसका ओरिजिन ऋग्वेद से हुआ है। ऋग्वेद में शायद 9th या 10th जो चैप्टर है उसका पार्ट है, वहाँ से शुरू हुआ है। उसमें बताया गया एक्चुअली वो ऑक्यूपेशनल, वो मेटाफोरिकल, ऋग्वेद में बहुत सारी बातें मेटाफोरिकल है, जिसमें से ये भी पार्ट जो है कि वो ब्रह्मा से कैसे, किस अंग से उदित होते हैं। तो उसका जो हमेशा से रिलेशनशिप बनाया गया स्मृतियों में, वेदों में नहीं, स्मृतियों में, स्मृतिज आर अलग तरह का लिटरेचर विच इज़ लाइक अ ड्राफ्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। अलग अलग मुनियों ने अपने अपने डे एंड एज के हिसाब से स्मृति लिखा, जहाँ पे वर्ण व्यवस्था को और विस्तृत रूप से उन्होंने एक्सप्लेन किया। तो बेसिकली टू ऑर्गेनाइज, बेसिकली टू इंडिकेट, वो ड्राफ्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन किसके लिए था? उस समय के राजा महाराजा के लिए, उस समय के लोगों के लिए, कि इस मॉडल के बेसिस पे यू कैन मेक लॉज। मॉडल मीन्स स्मृति। तो स्मृति जैसे मनुस्मृति हो गया, पराशर स्मृति हो गया, ये अलग अलग स्मृतियों में अलग अलग तरह, मोर और लेस एक कंसिस्टेंसी तो है ही, बट तभी डिफरेंसेस है कि वर्ण व्यवस्था को उसमें बनाया गया। उसमें हमें यही दिखता है कि वर्ण व्यवस्था दो कंपोनेंट पे है, एक तो ऑक्यूपेशन पे है आधारित, और फिर उसमें रीइंकारनेशन का भी कॉन्सेप्ट आ जाता है। तो चूंकि रीइंकारनेशन का कॉन्सेप्ट, क्योंकि जो आप कर्म कर रहे हो उसमें प्रारब्ध और संचित हो जाता है, तो उसके कारण जो भी आप काम करोगे, जो भी आप ऑक्यूपेशन लोगे, उसका कनेक्शन होगा आपके नेक्स्ट
अच्छा, बिल्कुल
जन्म
सही
से।
बात आपने करी। पर एरी जी एक चीज इसमें ये बताइए, ये मुझे कंफ्यूजन हमेशा रहता है, अगर कोई शास्त्रों का ज्ञाता हो तो वो इस कंफ्यूजन को थोड़ा सा दूर कर सकता है। अभी हम लोग सप्त मनु के काल में चल रहे हैं,
राइट।
वैवस्वत मनु के काल में, राइट। वैवस्वत मनु के काल में जो मत्स्य पुराण की घटना है, जिसका उल्लेख और कई पुराणों में भी आता है, वो बड़ा क्लियर उल्लेख आता है कि जब प्रभु विष्णु मत्स्य रूप में आए थे, उन्होंने केवल एक फैमिली को बचाया था, वैवस्वत मनु की फैमिली को,
करेक्ट।
और सप्त ऋषियों को। ये रेफरेंस हर जगह आता है, और बाकी पूरी सृष्टि का विनाश हो गया था।
हाँ, और हर मनवंतर में
राइट,
वही हुआ है, सेम, ऑलमोस्ट सेम चीज
हर
हुआ है।
मनवांतर में सेम चीज हुआ, राइट।
हाँ, हाँ,
तो जब मनु जो है वो क्षत्रिय कुल के हैं,
राइट,
उनकी फैमिली भी क्षत्रिय कुल की है,
राइट।
और उनसे ही इस युग का मतलब वो मनु काल चालू हुआ है, जो वैवस्वत मनु से। तो उस हिसाब से तो हर आदमी क्षत्रिय हुआ।
नहीं, वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जो इसमें, क्योंकि मैं बोला वो इंडिविजुअल जो वर्ण व्यवस्था है वो बहुत इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक है। ऐसा भी हो सकता है कि जो पुत्र है वो राक्षस भी हो सकता है। रावण का एग्जाम्पल सबसे बेस्ट है। पुत्र जो है वो आपका, या आपका जो पुत्री भी है, वो अपने कर्मों से अपना वर्ण बदल सकते हैं। सबसे बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल इसमें विश्वामित्र है, ठीक है। ही वॉज बॉर्न क्षत्रिय, अगेन ही वॉज बॉर्न क्षत्रिय।
हाँ, बट अरे जी एक थोड़ा सा डिफरेंस है, और इसमें कई लोग कंफ्यूज भी होते हैं। विश्वामित्र का मतलब वंश तो बदला नहीं था। विश्वामित्र का वंश वही रहा, आगे जो चला वो भी क्षत्रिय कुल ही चला,
हाँ,
राइट। तो
हाँ,
वो
हाँ।
खुद ऋषि बने थे, ब्राह्मण नहीं।
नहीं, उसमें जो
मतलब
ब्राह्मण
उनका
का जो
कहीं पे भी उनका
कॉन्सेप्ट,
ये उल्लेख नहीं है कि वो ब्राह्मण बन गए थे। ये ऋषि
नहीं,
उनको
सप्त ऋषि
सप्त
में
ऋषि,
आते
हाँ,
ब्राह्मण ही हो
सप्त
गए
ऋषि में
ना।
आते हैं, हाँ।
ऋषि तो ब्राह्मण ही बन गए ना,
हैं।
ज्ञान
ऋषि
नहीं,
ज्ञान का।
नॉट नेसेसरी, हाँ।
नो, जैसे
नहीं,
वही
नहीं,
है। ब्राह्मण
ऋषि
ऋषि
और
तो
ब्राह्मण को आप अलग नहीं कर सकते, यही
नहीं,
बात
पर
है ना।
ये तो
ब्राह्मण,
मतलब ऐसा उल्लेख कहाँ मिलता है कि मैं, एंड दिस इज प्रिसाइसली द एक्सेप्शन, दैट यू कैन बी अ ऋषि डिस्पाइट ऑफ नॉट बीइंग अ ब्राह्मण।
नो नो
नहीं,
नो नो,
नहीं,
नहीं
नहीं,
नहीं।
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं हो
ब्राह्मण को
सकता
क्या बोलते
क्योंकि
हैं? जो ब्रह्म ज्ञाता है वो ब्राह्मण है।
एग्जैक्टली, एग्जैक्टली,
वही तो
एग्जैक्टली
ऋषि है,
हम जो,
तो ब्रह्म
हाँ,
ज्ञान
नहीं,
है।
बहुत सही बात, बहुत सही बात, बहुत 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 सही बात उन्होंने बोली कि जो ब्रह्म का जिसको ज्ञान हो गया भाई ब्राह्मण होता है। हम चूंकि अब देखिए, आप जो बात करें ना आंदोलन जी, वो कास्ट सिस्टम के बाद से बात करें, जिसमें कर्म नहीं जन्म आधार बन जाता है, ठीक है। तो जब जन्म को आप आधार मान लीजिएगा और कर्म को नहीं मानिएगा, तो वो वर्ण व्यवस्था है ही नहीं, वो फिर आप जाति व्यवस्था पे आ गए हो। इसीलिए मैंने
चिराग
शुरू
जी,
में ही बोला
कोई उत्तर
दो
है
अलग
आपके पास
व्यवस्था।
इसका? ये तो कह रहे
सर
जन्म, हाँ, नहीं है।
मैं उसका वही रिप्लाई दूंगा कि अगर मैं आपसे मिलने आ गया, मैंने अगर आपके साथ लड़ाई किया तो मैं क्षत्रिय हो गया। अगर मैंने आपसे कुछ ज्ञान दे दिया तो मैं ब्राह्मण हो गया। अगर मैंने आपको पैसे लिए दिए तो मैं वैश्य हो गया। और अगर मैंने आपको कि साफ सफाई कर दी तो मैं क्षत्रिय हो गया। मतलब हर एक सेकंड में हमारा वर्ण चेंज
ऐसा
होता
नहीं
जा
होता
रहा है।
चिराग भाई, सुनिए बताता
नहीं
हूँ।
नहीं।
फिर
जिसको ब्रह्म ज्ञान
तो पहले
होता है
उनकी
वो
एक सेकंड, एक सेकंड महेश भाई, एक मिनट मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, चिराग जी को पहले पूरी बात रख लेने देते, फिर आ जाते हैं
हाँ हाँ
बीच में।
सही
बस
बात।
बस यही है
हाँ।
मेरा, यही है
नहीं, वही
कि
पूरा
मतलब मैं जो काम करूँ मेरा बदलते आएगा वर्ण, हर एक सेकंड में मेरा वर्ण बदलेगा।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, एक मिनट
हाँ,
एक
तो
मिनट।
अगर अगर हर सेकंड में बदल भी रहा है तो इशू क्या है?
नहीं नहीं, एक मिनट एक मिनट एक मिनट, ऐसा बदल नहीं रहा है। ऐसा ये कॉन्सेप्ट जो है बता रहे हैं चिराग जी वो गलत है। ऐसा नहीं होता है। वर्ण व्यवस्था ऐसा होता है, जो ब्रह्म ज्ञान ये छोटी मोटी चीज नहीं है। जिसको ब्रह्म ज्ञान प्राप्त करना है वो बहुत बड़ी चीज है। अगर वो प्राप्त करेगा और उसको ही प्रैक्टिस करेगा जीवन भर तो वो ब्राह्मण कहलाता है। ठीक है। अगर क्षत्रिय जिसको बोलते हैं, जो क्षात्र परंपरा, जो अपने भुजबल से जो ज्ञान प्राप्त करना है, जो शौर्यता प्राप्त करनी है, वो प्राप्त करके जो प्रजा की रक्षा करता है, वो कोई भी राजा हो या कोई सैनिक हो, उसको क्षत्रिय बोलते हैं। जो अपने बलबूते से मेहनत करके, जो शूद्र बोलते हैं, जो कि खेती बाड़ी हो वैसा कुछ भी काम जो हो, अपने मेहनत से काम करके जो अर्जित करके अपनी पेट की और कुटुंब की जो निर्वाहन करता है, उसको शूद्र बोलते हैं। जो उसका व्यवसाय सिर्फ व्यापार ही है, वो व्यापार का ही उससे वो अपना जीवनी निकालता है, उसको वैश्य बोलते हैं। ये
ठीक है।
डिफिनेशन है।
अच्छा,
अगर
पर
हम
एक
परशुराम को क्या लेंगे?
हाँ, पर एक
सुनिए
मिनट
परशुराम क्योंकि
चिराग
वो
जी,
तो
हाँ
ब्राह्मण
नहीं,
थे
वन
बहुत।
ऑन वन, हाँ
सुनिए,
नहीं नहीं
बात
नहीं, एक
सुनिए।
सेकंड, एक सेकंड,
परशुराम जी ने ब्राह्मण कुल में जन्म होके परिस्थिति के अनुसार वो जो आया, जो क्षत्रिय लोग जो थे, जो बहुत हिंसा कर रहे थे, तो दुनिया भर में
अच्छा
जो
थोड़ा
गलत काम
टॉपिक
कर रहे
डेविएट
थे।
हो जाएगा, इसलिए मतलब वो स्पेसिफिक
हाँ हाँ
एग्जाम्पल पे नहीं जाते हैं, ब्रॉड कॉन्क्लेव रखते हैं। अच्छा, ट्रैड क्षत्रिय जी, आपने कुछ चैट पे लिखा था कि मनु वॉज अ ब्राह्मण, पर वैवस्वत मनु तो ब्राह्मण नहीं थे। मैं फर्स्ट मनु की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, स्वयंभू मनु की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, मैं वैवस्वत मनु की बात कर रहा हूँ। ट्रैड जी, वैवस्वत
लेकिन
मनु
लेकिन
तो क्षत्रिय थे।
हाँ
हाँ
हाँ, मैं इसको थोड़ा सा रिफ्रेश करना चाहूँगा। अभी जो बात हुई बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग बात हुई कि एक तरफ से आर्गुमेंट आया कि मात्राओं में होता है, ठीक है, रेशियो में होता है जो आप कर्म कर रहे हैं। जैसे कि अब बात की कि मैं एक, और इसमें थोड़ा सा इम्परमानेंस का भी कॉन्सेप्ट है कि मैं एक मोमेंट पे ये कर्म कर रहा हूँ जो कि शूद्र, जो एक शौद्रिक कर्म है, एक तरफ मैं क्षत्रिय कर्म कर रहा हूँ, एक तरफ मैं दूसरे ही क्षण में ज्ञान दे रहा हूँ तो वो ब्राह्मण कर्म है। तो ये जो कर्म है ना, वो प्रारब्ध, ये हमारे जो नित्य के कर्म जो हम कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, उससे रिलेटेड ऑक्यूपेशनल कर्म, मतलब आप सब तरह के काम करते हो, ठीक है, आप पढ़ाई भी करते हो, आप लिखाई भी करते हो, लेकिन एक काम वो होता है जिसमें आप सर्वाधिक निपुण होते हो। वो जो कर्म है उसी के बेसिस पे आपका ऑक्यूपेशन बनता है, क्योंकि वो आपका इंटरेस्ट है, तो आप उसके बेसिस पे ऑक्यूपेशन बनाते हो अपना।
हाँ,
वो जो कर्म है
और
जिसको परम कर्म बोलते हैं।
ठीक, और एक
हाँ
बात है,
हाँ हाँ,
देखिए, ज्ञान देना, हर चीज में ज्ञान की जरूरत होती है। क्षत्रिय हो तो उसको भी
एग्जैक्टली
ज्ञान की जरूरत होती है,
उसको भी,
ब्राह्मण हो
हाँ,
तो भी ज्ञान की जरूरत होती है।
शस्त्र अस्त्र के ज्ञान की जरूरत, आवश्यकता है,
हाँ,
उसमें निपुणता
उस चीज
चाहिए।
में ज्ञान की जरूरत होती ही है। जो कर्म करता है उसके चीज में ज्ञान की जरूरत होना ही चाहिए। तो
हम्म
वो हिसाब से तो वो नहीं हो सकता। ब्रह्म ज्ञान जो प्राप्त किया है उसी को ब्राह्मण बोलते हैं।
हाँ हाँ, तो
और
सही बात
इससे
बोल
जी।
रहे हैं महेश,
अच्छा, एक
एकदम।
काम करते हैं, एक काम करते हैं, थोड़े से व्यू पॉइंट्स और भी ले लेते हैं
हाँ हाँ, ले लो।
महेश जी, है ना हरि जी? तो ट्रैड जी आए हैं, अनूप जी आए हैं, और भी कोई अगर अपना पॉइंट शेयर करना चाहे तो। ट्रैड, यू रोट समथिंग इन दी चैट, वुड यू लाइक टू एक्सप्लेन दैट? ओके, अनूप, आई थिंक ट्रैड इज नॉट हियर.
Yeah, what were you guys talking about
We
earlier? I'm
we were
sorry.
talking. We have just started the room few minutes back. We wanted to have a discussion on Varna caste, all question debated,
अच्छा आंदोलन
asked
जी,
and answered.
मैं
Tried
कह
to be answered.
मैं
Yeah, हाँ,
मैं कह रहा हूँ हमें पेशवास पता है, वो थे ब्राह्मण, राइट?
जी,
पेशवा बाजीराव, तो
हाँ,
फिर वो तो काम तो उनका क्षत्रिय जैसे
क्षत्रिय
था,
वाला था, हाँ,
फिर वो क्षत्रिय क्यों नहीं कहते उन्हें? फिर उन्हें क्षत्रिय क्यों नहीं कहते?
हाँ, बिल्कुल रेलेवेंट,
पेशवा ब्राह्मण क्यों कहते हैं? इसका कोई आंसर
वैलिड
दे
पॉइंट,
सकते हैं?
हाँ,
आप शिवाजी महाराज को देख लीजिए, वो तो शूद्र थे, लेकिन उन्होंने काम था उनका क्षत्रिय वाला।
एग्जैक्टली।
इनका
वैलिड
कोई
पॉइंट,
जवाब दे
हाँ.
दो।
क्या मैं दे सकता हूँ जवाब, उत्तर इसका?
कोशिश करिए।
तो
हाँ
इसमें देखिए, एक्चुअल में इंडियन फिलोसफिकल सिस्टम और इंडियन जो सामाजिक व्यवस्था है उसमें कास्ट का नोशन 12th सेंचुरी के बाद एक्चुअली आना तो शुरू हो गया था 9th सेंचुरी से, जहाँ एक सेंस ऑफ इंटाइटलमेंट आ गया था, कास्ट आ गया था, राजपूत आ गए थे। द वर्ड राजपूत इटसेल्फ वो दिखाता है कि कास्ट सिस्टम प्रबल हो गया था 9th-10th सेंचुरी में, जिसके कारण बहुत सारे साइड इफेक्ट्स हुए। वी कैन नॉट डिफेंड इन्वेजन 12th सेंचुरी में, इंडिया गॉट इन्वेडेड 12th सेंचुरी तक। और फिर उसके बाद जो सोशल फैब्रिक इंडिया का वो पूरी तरह बदल गया। ठीक है, उसमें फिर ये हो गया कि जन्म और एक सेंस ऑफ इनसिक्योरिटी हो गया, कोई भी आके इन्वेड करके चला गया। तो द थिंग वाज पीपल ट्राई टू रिलाई ऑन वेरी ट्रेडिशनल एंड प्रिमिटिव मीन्स ऑफ सोशल फैब्रिक, जिसमें ये हो गया कि जो भी है जन्म से जो उसको मिल रहा है उसका आधार और प्रबल होते गया ओवर द सेंचुरीज आफ्टर 12th सेंचुरी 13th सेंचुरी। और ये भी वही पीरियड था 12th-13th सेंचुरीज के बाद वी सॉ कि हमारा जो सेंटर्स ऑफ स्कॉलरशिप थे, फॉर एग्जांपल नालंदा या तक्षशिला, दे ऑल आल्सो गॉट डिस्ट्रॉयड, नॉलेज सेंटर्स भी नहीं रहा। तो लोगों कहाँ से वो ज्ञान जो है वो ट्रांसमिट हो, तो वो फैमिली लीनियज के थ्रू होने लगा। तो वो भी एक रीज़न था कि कास्ट जो था जो कि अब जो आप बोल रहे हैं ना, चिराग जी जो पॉइंट किए, अगेन ही 12th सेंचुरी के बाद वर्ण व्यवस्था बहुत बैकग्राउंड में चला गया, जो चीज़ वो हो गई ये सारी रीजंस के कारण, इनसिक्योरिटी के
12th
कारण।
सेंचुरी में सिर्फ ऊपर
अच्छा,
के
पर
जगह ही कैस्ट
एक,
होते थे।
हाँ, पर चिराग जी एक काउंटर क्वेश्चन भी है
यस
आपके
यस
क्वेश्चन पे, एक काउंटर क्वेश्चन।
यस।
मेरे ख्याल से तो आप तो वही चीज एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हो जो हम लोग बात कर रहे थे, कि इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ विच फैमिली यू बॉर्न इनटू, यू कैन चूज एनी प्रोफेशन। दैट
हाँ,
वाज ऑलवेज द
प्रोफेशन
केस, यू
चूज कर
जस्ट गेव
सकते
मी
हैं,
एन
लेकिन हम
एग्जांपल।
रहेंगे वही।
हाँ,
लेकिन हम रहेंगे
हाँ,
वही।
रहोगे तो वही, वो तो मैं भी कह रहा हूँ, एक इटालियन अमेरिकन ब्रिटिश अमेरिकन थोड़ी ना बन जाएगा,
हाँ, यस,
रहेगा तो वो
बिल्कुल नहीं।
इटालियन अमेरिकन ही।
हाँ,
नहीं नहीं
तो हम
हाँ, तो हम
वर्ण
लोग,
तो
हाँ,
हमारा वही रहेगा जिंदगी भर।
नहीं नहीं
लेकिन अब
हाँ,
आप खुद से कुछ बना सकते हो, मैं क्षत्रिय हूँ, ये हूँ, वो हूँ, लेकिन आप रहोगे नहीं वो।
हाँ, पर
नहीं
उसमें
नहीं,
फिर
तो
छतरी
उसमें
बनाने की जरूरत ही क्या रह जाएगी? मतलब मैं एक
हाँ,
सेकंड
वो
एरी जी,
अपने
एग्जैक्टली
हाँ,
काम से
एरी
वो
जी,
है।
मैं एक
यस,
सेकंड, हाँ,
मैं इसमें एग्री कर लेता
हाँ,
हूँ।
हाँ, 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 मतलब वही आप तो वही कह रहे हो ना, मान लीजिए जैसे पेशवास थे,
हाँ,
दे वर गुड
अब
रूलर्स, राइट?
कर्म से हम।
इररिस्पेक्टिव वेदर दे वर ब्राह्मण्स और
यस यस।
बनियास और शूद्रास और क्षत्रियास, राइट? इफ दे वर गुड रूलर, आई मीन दे वर गुड रूलर।
हम कर्म से कुछ, मतलब हम कर्म से कुछ भी हो सकते हैं, लेकिन जन्म से तो मैं वैश्य ही हूँ। मैं कर्म से अपने आप को कुछ
ऑफ
भी कह
कोर्स,
सकता
यस,
हूँ,
हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन
लेकिन मैं
नॉट,
रहूंगा
हाँ,
जन्म
यू
से
कैन
वो।
नॉट
हाँ,
चेंज योर डीएनए, राइट? आई मीन
हाँ, बस
दैट्स
यस
गोना बी
यस यस,
देयर।
मेरा यही पॉइंट
हाँ,
है, और कुछ नहीं।
इस पे एक काउंटर पॉइंट है मेरा। देखिए, आप जब जन्म को बहुत आधार मानते हैं ना, जन्म जो होता है, ठीक है, वो तो एक शरीर में जन्म क्या है आपकी आत्मा का, तो ऐसे अगर हम अद्वैत को माने या ऐसे भी अगर हम वैदिक फिलॉसफी में भी जाए, तो शरीर तो एक क्षण भंगुर चीज़ है। उसमें अगर वो क्षण क्षण के लिए है, एक क्षण के लिए, 2 क्षण के लिए या 100 साल के लिए, उस 100 साल से तो ऊपर नहीं होगा ना। होगा तो आप बता दो। या 200 साल तक तो होगा ही नहीं किसी का शरीर, ठीक है। तो जब वो एक क्षण के लिए ही है उस पूरे यूनिवर्स के टाइम स्केल में, तो फिर जन्म का आधार ही नहीं रहता है, क्योंकि जन्म से केवल शरीर हो रहा है, ठीक है, और कुछ संबंध आपके बन रहे हैं उस शरीर के कारण, आइडेंटिटी के कारण, सोसाइटी के कारण, जो कि बहुत लिमिटेड टाइम पीरियड के लिए है। इसलिए आप जो सोचते हो ना, वो एक बहुत छोटे टाइम पीरियड की सोच है, जन्म का जब आधार लेते हो। लेकिन जो कर्म का आधार होता है वो लॉन्ग लास्टिंग होता है, जो उत्तम
अच्छा,
कर्म
एरी
होते
जी,
हैं, हाँ,
एक
वो लॉन्ग
प्रश्न आ
लास्टिंग।
रहा है चैट में।
हाँ
प्रश्न ये आ रहा है कि इफ सम अदर एशियन, एज इन चाइनीज और somebody or an African or an Caucasian, he would like to convert to Hinduism, what varna would be allocated to him?
सर, ही
सब
विल रिमेन अ मलिच।
नहीं नहीं, सबसे पहली बात है कि धार्मिक फिलॉसफी में कन्वर्जन का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, ठीक है। और दूसरा बात कि धार्मिक फिलॉसफी को फॉलो, कोई भी धार्मिक फिलॉसफी, मैं बस वैदिक नहीं बोल रहा, कोई भी धार्मिक फिलॉसफी को फॉलो करने के लिए यू नीड एक बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग और एक नॉलेज बेस है, बना हुआ है नॉलेज बेस। आप कोई भी धार्मिक फिलॉसफी में चल जाइए, इमेंस अमाउंट ऑफ लिटरेचर है, और हर का अलग अलग पद्धति है, अलग अलग तरीका है, उस पर कारिका लिखा गया है, कमेंट को, सब कुछ है, आपको मिल जाएगा। तो सबसे पहला जो बेस है, अगर किसी को, क्योंकि वी आर लिविंग इन एन इंफॉर्मेशन एज, ठीक है, तो ज्ञान मार्ग को आसानी से फॉलो किया जा सकता है अगर कोई, क्या बोलते हैं, इसमें इंटरेस्टेड है। तो मैं हमेशा यही बोलता हूँ, जैसे अगर इंटरेस्टेड है तो आप एक बेसिक बुक पकड़ लो, ठीक है, एंड कोई भी बेसिक बुक, जैसे अगर आप, मैं ये नहीं बोलूँगा डायरेक्ट शंकराचार्य पे चल जाओ, ब्रह्म सूत्र भाष्यम पे नहीं, मैं नहीं बोलूँगा। आप कोई भी एक बेसिक बुक पकड़ लो, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आप अगर न्यू अद्वैतिन्स का भी आप कोई बुक पकड़ लो उसमें, क्योंकि मैं अद्वैत का एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ, इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मैं माधवाचार्य का ट्रेडिशंस को निगेट कर रहा हूँ, आप उधर से भी ले सकते हो। कोई भी एक किताब आई थिंक श्री हरि करके बताई थी मुझे श्री चित्रांश ने, आई थिंक ही नोज मच मोर बेसिक बुक्स हियर फ्रॉम माधवाचार्य। तो यू कैन फॉलो देम, एक रीडिंग दे दो, यू विल हैव बेसिक अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि वो चीज़ है क्या, देन यू कैन स्टार्ट फॉलोइंग द वे यू वांट। मैं हमेशा बोलता हूँ कि हमारे धार्मिक फिलॉसफी में ज्ञान तो है, लेकिन आपको कैसे फॉलो करना है ये आप पे हमेशा, वो आपको फ्रीडम है, आप खुद समझ के वैसे फॉलो कर सकते हैं। यहाँ पे ऊपर से 10 कमांडमेंट नहीं आते, इट इज़ यू हु हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड इट इज़ यू हु हैव टू फॉलो इट। और फिर आप कोई भी मार्ग ले सकते हो, भक्ति मार्ग भी ले सकते हो, कर्म मार्ग भी ले सकते हो। मैं ऐसा नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, मैं ज्ञान मार्ग की तरफ स्पेशल फोकस दे रहा हूँ, क्योंकि बिकॉज दे लिव इन अ डिफरेंट सोसाइटी, उनको कर्म और भक्ति मार्ग जो यहाँ का है उसको उसमें एडजस्ट करने में थोड़ा हो सकता, मेरे हिसाब से, दिस इज़ माय पर्सनल ओपिनियन, थोड़ा उनको वो लग जाए, ट्रांजिशन करने में थोड़ा दिक्कत हो जाए। बट चूंकि दिस इज़ इन्फॉर्मेशन है, सब कुछ पीडीएफ में है, तो ज्ञान मार्ग थोड़ा आसान हो सकता है उनके लिए फॉलो करना, तो उसमें वो फिर आके फॉलो कर सकते हैं। एंड देर आर सो मेनी, आई टेल यू वन वेरी गुड सोर्स इज आशी आशीर्वाद फाउंडेशन, which is a good, again I am giving example of Advaita because I don't know much about Madhvacharya, so you can follow that, it's a very good source to follow Advaitic literature and thoughts, तो उनके लिए मैं यही बोलूँगा। और अगर वो फॉलो करते तो जब हम उसमें बात ही कर रहे हैं आत्मन का, ब्राह्मण का, जब शरीर, परसेप्शन, माइंड, ये सब को हम बोल रहे हैं कि इसका कोई मतलब ही नहीं है एक लिमिट के बाद, एक परिधि के बाद, तो फिर उसमें
जी
वर्ण
जी
व्यवस्था को घुसा के
इसमें,
हाँ
हाँ इसमें एक चीज अगर ये कर रहे हैं ना यार जी, अगर एक एक क्वेश्चन को हम लोग एक रिस्पॉन्ड करके उसको फिर बहुत डिटेल में दूसरे तीसरे चौथे टॉपिक पे ना लेके जाए तो थोड़ा सा वो प्रिसाइज हो जाएगा डिस्कशन।
हाँ हाँ, मैं थोड़ा लंबा आंसर
हाँ
हो गया,
वो हाँ
मैं
वो काफी लंबा
क्षमा
हो
चाहूंगा
गया। हाँ
उसके लिए। हाँ हाँ
नहीं
हाँ,
नहीं कोई
सॉरी
प्रॉब्लम नहीं,
सॉरी।
बस हाँ। अच्छा इसमें ट्रेड यू वांट टू शेयर समथिंग और यू जस्ट वांट टू टॉक ऑन द चैट, we are open to have viewpoints, but if you're there on the speaker panels, add some value. चलिए चैट तो फिर आप नीचे बैठ के भी
Yeah,
कर सकते हैं। हाँ या
I'll go.
अनूप गो अहेड या
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a funny thing because since the beginning of Clubhouse, I've seen these rooms on Cast. It's very strange because it's like the last thing. I hadn't even thought about it really in like 15 years. I'll be really honest with you. Because I was doing a lot of other things and it just never even came up. Maybe even 20 years. But I've seen it so much on Clubhouse. And look, in my opinion, it's a very outdated conversation. It's almost like talking about arranged marriage. It's at that level because it's the whole world and India has changed so much since that conversation was even relevant. Today, people are living all over the world. Indians are living all over the world. They're speaking every single language you can imagine. They're participating in every segment of the economy that you can't even think of. They're doing and living whatever dreams they want with no shackles, no constraints, none of these medieval dark ages type, things, concepts. And within India itself, this has become completely, outdated and irrelevant. There's so many interregional, intercaste marriages that are happening for a
but
long.
Anup bhai,
Wait, wait,
if it was irrelevant, it would not have been discussed. There is a reason it's being
that's
discussed.
yeah.
So
I know
there are
there's
two
a
ways
reason.
to look at
Actually,
it.
I know there's
Yeah
a reason
हाँ
it's being discussed. Now, here's the interesting thing. I actually think people are not asking about caste. That's not what they're asking. Because you can do whatever you want. You have total freedom now. You want to be a priest? Go become a priest. Nobody's stopping you. You want to be in commerce? That's fine. If you're born into a priest family and you want to do politics or commerce, go for it. Nobody's stopping you. That's not what is being asked. That's not what people are inquiring. You know what people are inquiring? It's very simple, Andol, and this is not about caste, because the conversation that's been had on Clubhouse for 2 years has been mundane. What people are actually inquiring is, how can I advance myself personally? How can I further my personal evolution so that I can have more? I can have uh, more money, more influence, more power, better partner, better family situation. This is actually what is being asked. It is not about caste. It's actually a personalized question, and if that's the question, that's a very fair question, and there is a good reason for that to be discussed, because that is something that can help people to further themselves, advance themselves. But that's not how these conversations have gone. These conversations have been misaligned, to be very gentle.
Mr. Anup, my one question for you, for the views which are you sharing, then why people are not doing intercaste marriages or interreligion
There's
marriages?
plenty of it
Why
happening.
people are
There's
doing it?
plenty of that happening all over the world.
No, no, why
अच्छा,
not
पर
Anup?
एक हाँ
Let's
मकेश जी,
have
एक लेकिन मेरा
conversations.
सवाल इस पे आता है. हाँ, जस्ट वन क्वेश्चन, राइट?
Why
वाई
do
दिस
energy?
ऑप्स हाँ, एक सेकंड मकेश भाई, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, प्रश्न ये आता है, वाई देयर इज अ नीड टू प्रूव अ पॉइंट टू फोर्स गर्ल इनटू मैरिज इनटू इंटरकास्ट or inter-race or inter-religion to prove a point that there is cohesiveness in the society? Where does this question comes from? Aren't women and girls entitled to marry whom they are comfortable with? It is normal phenomena,
No, no, no.
right? People are just one second, right, Mukesh? Just one second. Isn't it normal phenomena that people are comfortable in their own social circles? That's where 90% of the marriages take place,
No, your
isn't it?
no, your point is right, Andalanji. I am asked. My question was to Anup, who was telling that people are not interested in caste. For that question, I asked this question. That he was explaining that thing, no, that people are not bothered about caste. Then why people are still marrying in the same caste? For his version, I am asking the question. That's it.
Look,
My point was not
there's
that.
one point. There's one. Yeah, I'll answer it. It's not just a very simple answer. There's different levels of Indians all over the world. If we're just talking about caste within India or within Indians in the diaspora, there's people are at different levels. Okay, for some people, it is not even on their radar. They don't even know anything about their own caste, or they don't care. They will marry, sometimes within their community, sometimes outside. They'll marry based on their preference. There are other Indians who they only know within their community, and they will only marry within their community. So that's what you're referencing. So what you're referencing is actually a societal phenomenon. It's not something that is imposed externally or is given by some sort of like cultural or religious edict. No, people are doing what they know. That's it. But if the question is how does an individual marry outside the community, I'm telling you, it's happening all the time. It's happening. It's more and more frequent as we're getting into. It's not even an information age. It's like I don't even know how to describe it. What's happening right now? It's
So
everything.
let me put a question otherwise, Anupji. Let me put this question to everybody on the panel, and I'll go to everybody and ask this question. Now, how would you explain Varna caste system and the inherent prejudice, or I won't call it prejudice, let's say they may be right also, right, with respect to caste system in Hinduism and in India? Some foreigner, or some white guy or a black guy or a Chinese guy ask you, I've heard so much about caste discrimination, caste system bad in India, so on and so forth, among Hinduism. How you gonna tackle this question in, let's say, 120 seconds? How do you address it?
Yeah, great.
Anybody can answer
Yeah,
this.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've gotten this many times living abroad, right? And people ask about it, and the fact of the matter is, you treat people like you treat people. You treat every situation as the situation comes to you. If you're harboring some sort of bias or discriminatory or prejudice against somebody, then that is the problem of the individual. But that is not systematically how people operate. Like, we all know that. We don't base our, no human being will sit there and base their judgments based on some sort of prejudice. And that prejudice has been dying and dying and dying and dying. So that's why I'm like astonished. Why in Clubhouse, where we have this international forum, are we continually keeping this alive and talking about this over and over and over again? I just don't get it. It's a
No,
very
but
it's
you know,
a very
but no, no,
poorly
but
framed
Anup, it you know
conversation.
what you just did is
My
what you
issue
just
is
did.
my issue is this. It's a very poorly framed conversation.
No,
And
but
it
this is
has
what
been.
we precisely want a response on. That you chose to deny that there is any
It's
problem
not a denial.
in your
It's not
120-second
a denial.
response, right?
I'm just telling you, it's literally evaporating. There's so many regional, intercultural, interreligious, inter-community marriages that are happening,
Uh,
and people have learned, Andology, especially the younger generation. You have to understand, most of India is under 35. The 1947, the baby boomer generation of India is basically dying off. Most of
So Anupji, let
the
me also get a
uh,
counter view, right? Chirag, do you agree with what Anup is saying? Would you marry you yourself out of caste, or would you be open to marry your
No, I
sister
won't.
out of caste?
No,
Yeah, why
no,
not?
I won't. My whole generation is doing the same deed. Why shall I do something out of the box?
And what are your reservations? I mean, we are not forcing you, but given a choice, right? The two girls are available, or there are two grooms available for your sister. I mean, and somebody out of caste is probably better. But would you still go with the same caste choice?
Yes, yes, I will go
uh,
with the
uh,
same. Like I can give mine. Like I can't tell about my brothers, my sisters. I can't tell there.
Okay,
Like I will do in the same burner, which I
which
Only if the person from the same caste should not be a criminal.
or sister.
yes.
I-
नहीं आंदो जी फॉर एग्जांपल चिराग सेड कि जब जनरेशंस ऐसा कर रही हैं तो आई मीन इन हिस्ट्री देयर वाज इन आवर कम्युनिटी पॉलीगैमी वगैरह था है ना एंड वी स्टॉप्ड राइट तो जब हमने स्टॉप किया तो चिराग आपको क्या लगता है कि आपकी जनरेशन में उनको मतलब आपके दादाजी वगैरह जब भी जिन्होंने भी स्टॉप किया ये सब कुछ करना उन्होंने ये सोचा कि यार मैं आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स क्यों करूं मैं वही चीज करूंगा जो जनरेशंस कर रही हैं
जी
सही
जी नहीं
सवाल
नहीं
है।
सौरभ जी, हाँ नहीं
मेरे
नहीं नहीं
मेरे
नहीं, ये नहीं नहीं
मेरे
नहीं, एक
पहले
सेकंड
वाले
एक सेकंड एक
जनरेशन
सेकंड
और
एक
भी
सेकंड
पूजा
एक
करते
सेकंड
थे।
एक सेकंड मेरे भाई। मैं चिराग जी को गलत या सही नहीं ठहराने की
हाँ
कोशिश
ये
कर रहा हूँ, दैट
बिल्कुल
इज
बिल्कुल
चिराग पॉइंट, राइट? माय पॉइंट वाज स्लाइटली डिफरेंट. माय पॉइंट वाज टू एस्टैब्लिश विद अनूप that Chirag maybe what from his voice he would be 20, 25, maximum 30 years of age,
Yeah, I'm 20 years
right?
old.
20 years old, right? So Anup, here right in front of
yeah,
you is yeah,
sure.
is a
So
No,
person.
so for the
yeah,
same
Yeah.
question, my answer is I don't believe in caste. I am comfortable to marry any caste, but I was
No,
forced
the
because of
question
my
is
mother.
question. हाँ महेश जी आपने क्वेश्चन
no,
नहीं सुना. क्वेश्चन
but
ये नहीं है
and
कि
so
whether you are marrying in caste or not. You know, in a public forum, you are asked a question. We have heard a lot bad things about the caste system in India, in Hinduism. They have been discriminating with people, and it is the entire Hindu religion is about caste system. How would you respond to that particular query in
yeah,
120,
okay,
150,
so
180 seconds? Yeah,
wait 1 second.
yeah. Who's
Let me
this?
just answer. Let me answer the question that Andolan has asked because so based on
But
Chirag's response.
Anup ji, एक second रुक जाइए. Let me also first welcome Veer Raghavan ji. He has come on the stage, so let me first
मैं मुझके लिए
welcome
एक
him.
चीज
हाँ.
बोल देता हूँ कास्ट
जस्ट
सिस्टम
वन पॉइंट आंदो जी एक छोटा सा पॉइंट तो
No, one point.
यहाँ
I
पर
need
आजकल ना जितना मैंने अपने आगे पीछे देखा अपनी फैमिली में या रिलेटिव्स में इट आई मीन honestly no one cares about the caste thing and all but mostly it is about class like my parents wouldn't want
That's not the question, Saurabh. Question is आपसे कोई पूछेगा तो आप respond कैसे करोगे?
कोई
नहीं
फर्क
बताता
नहीं
हूँ मैं
पड़ता
बताता हूँ एक
Yeah,
मिनट
मैं तो
so
ऐसे
let
ही
me
ठीक है
a very
So
quick response.
एक मिनट
So my response is this: most
एक
people will choose their spouse, if we're just talking about
No, it's not
inclusive
about
spouse,
marriage. Anup, it's not about
well,
marriage. The question is not about marriage. The question is explaining caste system. He has a frame of mind that caste system is is in Hinduism. That's the worst thing that can happen to anybody. And, he has put that question in front of you. He's not asking
May I
about to marry
interject
you,
on that?
right? Yeah.
yeah,
No,
but
just a minute. For that question,
but
But
I
can we
must
go
tell.
one by one? Okay, let us do one thing. Rather than everybody speaking,
Yeah,
Sachidanand ji wanted to say something. Mukesh ji wanted to say something. So let Sachidanand ji come in and then Mukesh ji come in.
no, no, इस बात के बारे में
Thank you,
एक बोल देता
Andalanji.
हूँ बाद में। एक
Thank you,
मिनट।
Andalanji. I will make a very, very brief point because, first of all, clubbing Varna and caste in one breath is 100% patently, fatally wrong. First thing. Second thing is ecosystem. Now, I'm not going with a very, very traditional, puristic model. I'm just telling you the way we look at things has changed in the last couple of 100 years. Before that, our entire viewpoint was based on Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So our viewpoint was always guided by, our vision was always colored by, our guna was always colored by all these factors. The vision we have, the what we are looking at, and things like that. So, in sum, when I am saying varna, it is based on my guna and karma. You can look at Bhagavad Gita's definition. You can look at many texts for corroboration. You will find that Varna is nothing other than based on your guna and karma. So this is not based on what your only your birth. Nobody gets only, and if you are looking at from birth, there are two viewpoints. You look at it from Mahabharata viewpoint, and you can also look at it from some other Puranic viewpoint. They have given both models, top down and bottom up, that everybody is born as a Brahmana and you are progressively losing all the values and you are reversing all the way down to Shudra. That is one model. Some rishis are subscribed to that. And then you look at it in the other way around in Skanda Purana and Mahabharata, you look at it the other way around. Everybody is born as a Shudra and then they evolve or they add to the different gunas and they go to the next scale. Now that is the pattern that is based on your guna and karma. This is not based on birth. Now jati is something which is a totally different idea. Jati is basically like I am going to have a certain thought pattern. Like people south of India, people from Goa, people from Chennai, people from Bangalore, they have a certain thought pattern, right? So the combination of the jati and the varna was used for people had marriages and things like that. If you look at it traditionally, genetically, you cannot differentiate any of the four different patterns up to 1,000 years ago. Now here today we are in a situation, we have flipped the pattern. Remember we were talking about Purushartha. What was the goal? Moksha. So our viewpoint was based on Varna.
Sachidanand
I
ji,
will be last
Sachidanand
point I will tell you. Last point I will tell you and I will be done. If you are looking at it from today's viewpoint, everything is based on materialistic viewpoint. We have not progressed beyond kama only. Although we dabble with a lot of money, our vision is only limited and myopic and it's only kama. In a kama based thing, it is not going to matter whether you are going to look at the old prism of varna, how it is applied and how it is not applied. That is why when people go abroad, they don't care. They don't say like, hey, I am this jati, this varna. Those are arcane ideas because they never practice this, they never practice that. So everything is going to be based on the vision we have. Are we going to look at the world as a materialistic viewpoint, which we increasingly are? Then jati and all those things doesn't matter. And last point, limited point here is you will still find husband and wife if they are a doctor or a software engineer. Child also automatically becomes a doctor or software engineer only. There also jati is coming into play. So human nature is behind jati. And varna is again based on guna and karma. That's the limited point. Thank you.
yeah. So I'm just going to
In
quickly answer. And
generational, generational
From
occupation
like,
also refines that particular skill. Don't you think so?
Okay. So
yeah,
That's the reason.
let me tell you the objective of the room first, so that everybody is on the same page, right? What we're trying to do is, first is, if everybody knows, so first of all, we are wanting to address questions. If there are any questions related to caste and varna, uh, you know, ask those questions, and people in the panel will try to answer this. Let's assume everybody who's sitting in this panel knows all about it. I just wanted to understand that how do we normally respond to this question to a person who doesn't have any understanding about the Indian society or the background. So if you have to respond to somebody, let's say I am a white guy living in Norway, right, and I meet you while having a cup of coffee in Amsterdam. Nobody would have a cup of coffee in Amsterdam. That's a different question. But let's say that's the scenario, and he sees, and you tell you're an Indian. The first thing he says, "Oh, you are a Hindu Indian. You are caste system guys. Very casteist. I've learned, heard. You commit atrocities on people, etc., etc., etc. There is a deep-rooted caste system coming from scriptures. How do this is question to people who know about all about caste and varna system. I just wanted to understand how would you respond to a person like this.
yeah. I'll tell you how to respond really quick. First thing is you would you would tell them that India is first modernizing. A lot of this happened a long time ago, but India is modernizing very rapidly, and people can do whatever they want. The level of oppression, a lot of that happened during earlier times, colonial times, Mughal times, and those times are quickly changing. And I think you would start there, and then if you really wanted to follow up more deeply, I think you could very easily say that a lot of this stuff has been propagandized. A lot of it is a lot of anti-Hindu, Hindu-phobic rhetoric that has been utilized to divide Hindus, to
No,
cause.
but Anup, whenever I read the newspapers, I only hear Dalits not allowed to could go on a horse, the Dalits murdered, etc., etc., and you're telling me it's not happening.
Yeah, the first thing is all Indians are Indians. Well, okay, we're Indians first. That's the first sense of identity. It's a national identity. So these are all tertiary levels of identity that you're talking about, like what language you speak, what state you're from, what city you're from, what
But
community,
is
what profession. These
wouldn't
are
you
tertiary levels of identity. They don't matter. I'm just telling
but
Can,
wouldn't
can
but wouldn't you it look like that you're trying to escape the
I
question?
would like to answer
I'm
that
Yeah, it
question.
looks like to me.
telling you
You're
it's
denying,
I
yeah.
would like to
So,
answer the
Yeah,
not
so
and
let's
you're
let me do one
also.
thing. Let me do one thing.
but
Bharvi ji, एक काम करते हैं.
why we're
एक second. Anup, just
what
10 seconds, right?
having
You know,
2 years. It hurts. I'm telling you, it hurts India's image having these sorts of rooms because it actually divides India and it leaves open the door for exactly what you're talking about. Some other foreigner to come in and say, "Oh, you guys run a caste
got
system,
it. Got
religion."
Yeah, Anupji, point taken.
Yeah,
Point taken. Your response taken. But in an attention span, this what you're saying is correct. But to a party who's external, I'm thinking like a Norwegian now or a Swedish now, right? This looks more like a escape. Let me also go and take more viewpoints from Bhairavi, from
Andoji, just
Parth, from
bring in
Abaji.
Veeraji. He knows the most. We
Acha,
don't,
हाँ.
right?
Veer Raghavanji is a mod. He has the full liberty to come in any time, whenever he wants to. So that's the room is for him to moderate. So whenever he wants to come, he can be in. Let me go to Parthji, Abhaji, and Kiranji in that order. Yeah.
So, Andolanji, thank you for doing this room. So, I just have one observation to make. When I used to live abroad, based on my interactions with people, there are two kinds of people who ask these questions. The first type are those who are genuinely curious, who are not educated well about this issue, and they'll ask out of genuine curiosity. You can engage with them, and the kind of explanation Sachidanandamji gave, I think that's an appropriate way to approach. and we can articulate it in a different way so that it's easy for them to understand without using too many technical terms. And then we can give examples of the class system in Europe and etc. for comparison. However, there is a second category of people who are the extreme left woke bunch of, pardon my French, idiots who have no interest in learning. Okay, their only objective is to rile you up or trigger you. Do not fall for them. If you can see some telltale signs. If they are not interested in listening to you, their attention span will be small. The moment you see it, we are under no obligation to explain these things to such people. So who asks these questions matters a lot. For example, my mentor, if he asked me when I was in the US, when my mentor asked if he ever asked me this question, I will engage with him because he's a very intelligent man and he will understand. And he has not asked me directly, but he has asked other questions like, hey, you come from the land of Ramanujan, the great mathematician. You come from the land of C.V. Raman. So why is it that I keep the liberal media in America reports all kinds of things about your India? Is there any reason? So then I explained to him about how the liberal media in the US are hand in glove with the Congress party and all that stuff. Then he understands because he himself is a conservative libertarian in America, right? But I will not engage on this. At the same time, I will never ever engage with somebody who is out to just trigger me and put me in an uncomfortable position. The intent matters. If the intent is of a bad type, then I will never engage with those people because they do not deserve my attention or they do not even deserve any of my explanation. I thought I'll just make the point. I'll come back
So,
later. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, yeah. But again, the idea is not the psychometric analysis of the individual who's asking this question. In case somebody genuinely believes that it requires a response, we need a response. If you know about caste Varna, either you come up with a question or you come up with how would you explain it to somebody who doesn't knows about Hinduism. Abaji, over to you.
Yeah, Namaste, Jashri. I'm actually, Sachidanand was about to finish when I came in. So I haven't heard him completely, but of course, like both Vigrash, and the Sachidanand is there. So I'll not talk about actually like a lot of stuff because they are the pro in that. But yes, this is something. Being 20 years in US, nobody has personally has come and asked me this question. Number one. Number two, right now, where nobody has come ask me personally, we are seeing at the school level in our state, it happened. Okay, where all of a sudden, uh, some of the parents they realized it that their kids are studying something about their caste, and that was the time like a lot of parents they reached out to the county and they had created a lot of stuff on that one. Recently of course I'm into the process in the part of the like the team who are writing the letter from getting the letter from the different Hindu organization to address this matter like at the bigger level. Okay, besides this one, if any a random person, again I'll, as like Path told me, there will be two kind of people. One kind of a person is who genuinely want to know. So if I have to tell him, I'll tell it like the caste as such. The word is an English word which was introduced by the British. Varna as such is a category. Like America also has a category.
Not by Britishers, Portuguese. Sorry, Abha.
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Okay, fine. So yeah, so it's not an Indian word, so it is a category. Category can be anything. I mean, there are so many people like who has a last name as an winemaker, Smith, this, that, and from where these names came up. But these names came up like because at one time their ancestors was involved in that kind of a thing. And still like we have the category of the people. It is not like the people who are the like the politicians they are coming down and cleaning the bathrooms like the generators. So will you call the people like a generator like bad, or the people who are
That
like
makes sense. That makes sense, Abha. End of the day, sanitary bring to India by Britishers. We didn't have
yeah,
the system. We used to go to farms to finish ourselves.
can't let me just finish.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, like what I want to say is like I'm talking into the American context. I'm not like talking here into the Indian context. It's like if you're talking to a person, you have to get into their level. So you have to give the examples which is around you. So that's what it is. I mean, like, this is something like the kids, they have come and asked, who are born and brought up here, who don't know any damn thing about the caste, and somebody told them what is the caste. And I have actually came across like some kid from my family, and he's like, oh, India is so casteist, like there are this, da, 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 da. I told that kid, what is your caste? And I'll not name, he's like from this Varna class. And I told, now, because when you come out of the college, you have an equal opportunity of getting the job. But if you're in India, you have only 20 to 30%. And he's like, why? I told, because so-called this narrative of the caste system was created, which end up having the reservation, and where a lot of people, they don't get the job, and that's the reason they end up into the US. And then here, like, they are bringing to the same thing. So do you want to get into that rut and get like no jobs? And it's like, no, I don't want it. I told, that's the caste system, which is like, affecting the entire system, and which was created by, at one time, it was not the part. And in fact, like, let me tell you, because I told you that there are some people who knows more than me. In the case of Varna, I mean, there are so many examples where the people can move from the Kshatriya to Brahmin, Brahmin to Kshatriya, Kshatriya to Vaishya. So they can move it. I mean, like,
But
there
it
was.
never
Oh,
happened.
live
Baba, it
example,
never happened.
live example. So, Swami Ramdev ji. So, क्या नाम है यार? What's the name of the guy
Baba
who teach to
Ramdev.
everybody?
हाँ.
He's not Brahmin.
Yeah.
He's
So,
not Brahmin.
so he never claims to be a Brahman. But
So why he
this.
need to?
No, but which is precisely my point. There
Even
is no
Swami,
kid.
no, even
Just
Swami
Karanji, एक
Vivekananda is
second.
not Brahmin.
Karanji, एक second.
Swami
Karanji,
Vivekananda
एक
is
second.
not Brahmin.
Karanji, एक second. Karanji,
I
एक
prove you
second.
wrong. Thank you very much.
Karanji, एक second.
I did.
एक second. Yes, you did. You are a brilliant guy. I acknowledge that. But that's not the point we are discussing over here. But is there a single
There are
instance,
many.
right? अरे करण जी, अब
Right, so
आपको बोलने का मौका दिया जाएगा,
when tomorrow?
मतलब आपको
After Abba, I'm supposed to after what's
I don't know.
yeah
I mean,
after you.
why are you so excited, Karan? Are you drunk or something? You just came on
No, I just want
stage
to know when. When I only ask you when.
after 1.5 hours.
It's too late, man. All right, I wait for 10.
Yeah, please wait down. You seem to be quite excited. I think you're under influence or something.
I would like to interrupt here. Sorry for interrupting, but since Karan came, I thought it needs to be pointed out. I think he's the one who was speaking excitedly in their room as well. He had made one mention saying that Krishna says in Gita that Varna is not even by birth. Krishna doesn't really say that it is not by birth. The shloka is Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhagasha Tasya Kartaram Apimam Vidya Kartaram Avyayam. This verse, unfortunately, we have a lot of Hindus who want to defend our Sanatana Dharma, but in the process, we fail to go as per the actual procedure, as per the words and the meaning of the words and the explanations given by various acharyas since centuries or millennia, and we decide to take whatever has been recently interpreted by modern Hindus because they themselves never got to read anything, but they wanted to defend it, so they just came up with some meaning that appears to defend us completely, but when critically analyzed, would give everything away to the opponents. So it is a very carefully. It is something that needs to be very carefully seen. Okay, in no shloka of Bhagavad Gita that does Krishna really say that Varna does not come by birth. He does not say that. He does not say Varna does not come by birth. He does not say that one person of one Varna can change to one person of another Varna. He does not say that Varna does not come by birth. He does not say that Varna comes by birth. He has not said any of that. He has not commented on that. Okay. Remember that. He has not said it comes by birth. He has not said it does not come by birth. He has said neither. We should interpret verses only as per the actual meanings that are intended there, which can be understood from the context and the meanings of words as passed down to us by the acharyas who preserved it. If we go that way, it will be so. While his intent was correct, with due respect, Karanji, I would like to point out that the meaning of the verse, such verses, because there is another verse in Gita as well that is similar. Please exercise caution when interpreting such verses. Thank you.
Thanks, Acharya. This is what I mean. It's like that we can just come from one varna to other varna.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it was Kiranji. So Kiranji, again, I'm slightly trying to get the point straight. We are not trying to discuss how to explain. We are just asking how would you explain. So you have to make a 180-second pitch, right? Like, as a investor pitch, like kind of thing, right? So if Kiran, you can make your pitch, how would you explain this concept to people who are alien to this concept?
Yeah, I first of all, not for really for somebody's to pitch, for me to understand and to my family and friends, especially when they have questions, like no, they have to have that. I thought I have a little bit answer. I don't know 100% answer. What I would say is anybody from West or somebody does not know and say caste and varna like that. Same breath somebody says. I would say number one, explain me the word caste in any single native languages of my Indian languages. So it is not there. So you don't have a single word of CAST caste that you use in the governance of India. Why it came to governance? Because Herbert Hope Risley in 1850s he introduced. I have a link in my DP bit.ly/breakcast1, that is Herbert Hope Risley book and his Wikipedia. He is the one who officially is a racist, rather it was called as race scientist. He used the word caste. I don't care what is the origins of the word. He's the one who, whether it is what language, English or whatever, I don't care, he put into governance. So I did not worry about the word caste till I have to go my 10th class or intermediate, some kind of thing, because I need to get incentive that he has introduced in the governance of India, that till the government of India is carrying. So that is a caste. Now you talk about Varna. Varna, like Acharya just now has told with warning, it was not either by birth or by not by birth or by birth. Krishna did not advocate, but he advocated by guna and karma, which consists of some other elements that one based on some other things and all, like whether you believe punarjanma and all this, and whether you don't believe and all, based on those or other attributes, it will attribute to it. So first, my defense is caste. You cannot put anything related to varna at all. Period. It's a foreign word, foreign interpretation, foreign governance on bullying on us. That's my first argument. So, number Varna. Varna is, I would say, if I'm talking for a foreigner who does not believe anything about Purva Janma and nothing, so it is what I was by scriptures and this one, because you are not having any word of previous, you're not buying. We are in a modern 21st century. There is nothing, even though medical history asks you whether you are do you have a BP and your father has a BP, your blood have all the history, they will ask for hereditary. So you don't believe because we were talking about social issues. You're talking about only about now and only this Janma you're talking about. So that context you're talking. For that, it is all, as my Bhagavan Krishna has told, is guna karma. Just now, Acharya has said, it is combination of two, and condition should be there. Anytime there is no or condition, you should have your guna and you should have your karma, both, as long as you belong to that category temporarily
Not
or
really.
permanently, whatever is on that.
Not really, Kiranji.
What's
What
that?
my understanding is of Bhagavad Gita, that it lays a reasonable amount of emphasis on Janma
No,
also,
no. In that
other than
sloka,
good and
it does
karma.
not say by janma or not by janma, but it does say guna and karma. Chatur varnyam mayashtu, just now he said, no? Maya Sushtam. He said, I have created this category. And Varna is not only color, it is also normal language we use it. For example, in Sanskrit, Varna Mala. In Telugu, we said that no, it is a Mala, it's an order he just created. So, and
So
like,
let me take inputs from V Raghav ji. Yes, he has a fair fair bit of Shastriya knowledge. Veer Raghav coming to Bhagavad Gita, isn't it, the Bhagavad Gita says that the one Vyavastha is through Janma as well?
See, Krishna does not explicitly say that it is by Janma or that it is not by Janma in the 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Now there is a one shloka I cited from the fourth chapter. There is another shloka. Brahmana Kshatriya Visham Shudranam cha Parantapa Karmani Pravibhaktani Swabhava Prabhavair Gunaihi. There is another such shloka. Then so people who who claim that Krishna said that Varna has nothing to do with birth usually cite that first verse I cited or this verse, or sometimes they cite विद्या विनय संपन्ने ब्राह्मणे कविहस्तिनि शुनि चैव श्वपाके च पंडिता समदर्शिनः इत्यादि श्लोkas are cited by people. But if you really look at those verses word by word, you will never ever see the word for birth anywhere, be it janma or any other paryayavachi. You will not see that. Okay. What Krishna meant in understanding that, we would have to get into the commentary. So, for example, when he says guna, what is when he says guna karma vibhagashaha? How do you understand guna? Guna is of three types: sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. All of these we know because of the commentaries. Krishna talks about these three types of gunas much later in the Gita. In the fourth chapter, he has said he has only used the word guna. Go to 16th, 17th chapters, there he will talk about Satviki, Rajasi, Chaiva, Tamasi, Chetitam Shunu. He will say that in the 17th chapter. So, we should understand that uh, the exact way to interpret verses is where we could see other references. Now, Veda Vyasa has also said elsewhere, the same Veda Vyasa who has composed Bhagavad Gita has also is the one who has composed Mahabharata, right? Gita is just a small part of it. So there is another shloka, Tamashudre Rajakshatre Brahmane Sattvam Uttamam. The shloka is also there in Mahabharata. So these kinds of information for people who are just beginning to learn Gita, they will get only if they go through the commentaries. Otherwise, they will never get to know what is really being said. Okay, Krishna does not say it is by birth. He does not say it is not by birth. What is implied by that? What is implied by guna? What is implied by karma? If you go start entering that, you could get answers. But if you don't enter that, what has Krishna really said? Does Krishna really say it is not by, oh Arjuna, it is not by birth? He does not say that. He says it is by your guna, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna, or by prarabdha karma. That is all he says. So, Krishna's intention is not to talk about by birth or not by birth. And it is not part of the context either. So we shouldn't force fit it inside.
Just to add one more detail to what Veeraragha Sharma ji said, uh, Krishna also says, if you are going to be a Brahmana, then you are going to have these kind of qualities. He also says, if you are a Kshatriya, you are going to have these kind of qualities. So again, the emphasis is given on guna and karma. Guna is your internal nature, but only when it gets expressed outside as karma, it matters. So you can't say like I am a good guy. Why? Because I didn't kill anyone, I didn't do anything, I didn't steal anything, so I'm a good guy. It doesn't work like that. So the internal guna that gets expressed as the external karma, external not necessarily through your hands or legs, it can also be your thoughts too, right? So basically, that guna and karma combination, Krishna is saying what a Brahmana is, what a Kshatriya is. The same thing can be looked in Yaksha Prashna also. You can look at Yudhishthira is having a bunch of questions. Even in Nahushopakyana also, you can look at the same interaction between Nahusha and Yudhishthira. He asks the question, who is a Brahmana, who is this, who is that? All those questions have been detailed in Shastras ad nauseum. So the point here is the my guna has to be expressed as a karma, and that combination is what these people are using for a varna, and that is why you will find what is it, like when we look at, again we don't look at, when we look at a sabari, we don't look at her, hey, she is from this category or not. When we look at even for that matter Shravana Kumara, who gets killed by
Uh,
Dasaratha,
Sir,
he even is
sorry for interrupting. Guha also.
Yes. So we don't look at them when the Ramayana Valmiki refers to all the three in Shravana Kumara and his father and mother. His father is in passing mention is being said he is a Vaishya and his mother is supposed to be a Shudra. But Valmiki is very carefully to add the tag that they all three were rishis and all three must be looked at as rishis, not from their past their birth level. So it is very
So,
important. Again,
so let me ask this question, Sachidanandaji. If this was the intent, right? So today, then what I can come to understand it is good and karma, which will define who Brahman is, who Kshatri is, who others are. In today's day and time, how come it got transcribed, by birth? Right, so one thought process what you're depicting to be, or what I could make the sense out of what you're saying, or what V Raghava ji is saying, is that it is guna and karma predominantly. It is neither defined by birth or not by birth. So it could be, it's open to interpretation. But when we see in actual lives, let's say there are people who say that they are Brahmins, or people who say that they are Shudras, right? And doing a profession which is entirely other than what's ascribed of them for within the Varna system. So do we start calling them what they are professing, or how to go about it? I mean,
that's a good question. So if you look at the earlier definition of guna and karma, your vyavasaya or your job is an expression of your guna and karma. For example, if I am a very tamasic, dull guy, very sleepy and whatever, you put me in the border area to take care and defend the terrorists. What will I do? I'll go and sleep there. Right? So your guna and karma are going. Now that is why Krishna again and again says, see, you have to understand the deep philosophy of Sanatana Dharma is very amazing. Why am I born here? I am born here to exhaust my vasanas. But my vasanas are dictating something else. But I am chartering new vasanas and I am creating new desires, my karma is going in a different direction. So what happens? The old vasanas are not getting exhausted. So that is the story of most of us today. So if you are saying that, hey, my job, is it describing my caste? No, that was never the case. Your job was an expression of your guna and karma. We got it 180 degrees. So if I am not having that focus for all those details, I will not be interested in that area itself.
okay. So, there was another point I just wanted to cross check. Is there anybody on the panel who has read Annihilation of Caste in full? I read it, but some 20-25 years back, so I don't recall it completely.
By Ambedkar.
And yeah, by Ambedkar. And what is the problem and the solution statement as suggested by Ambedkar? I'm not saying whether it was right. I'm not saying it was wrong. But I just wanted to bring it on the forum that what was his problem statement and what was the solution statement.
Meanwhile, I have a question. Can I
Please
ask?
go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone can answer it if they know the answer. Okay. So the question is, there is this person, normal guy in the chat, and he's asking certain questions. So many time people keep on asking this questions that Shudras used to clean shit. So it is about this particular thing that on one hand we say that Indus Valley civilization or our ancestors invented flush toilets 6,000 years ago. On one hand we have this information. On the other hand, whenever it comes to Shudras, we only listen to this one question that we made them clean up the toilets or their shit. Is there any don't you find the contradiction here? If we
No,
made
so
them clean
there's
our
a
shits,
the
what
what
we were doing with
Okay,
the flush
I
toilet?
agree with you.
the just one
Bhairavi ji,
second.
I will agree with you
Just
that
one
there
second.
is
Satchitananda ji. Satchitananda ji, 1 second. one second, right? So, that's a valid question, but at the same time, I also, one is that 6,000 year
and
example. The
and
other
and
example
and,
is
and
also,
also
ju- ju-
question one more thing, that I know that what Muslim invaders did to us, and they also use this practice. They used to torture us, and they used to castrate somebody and made them do all this kind of cleaning. They have done it, but I am asking, was it there 1000 years ago, the way it is being, you know is in the discourse
Projected.
today? Yeah, the way is it being projected, and they use it in the discourse and their
It was
narrative.
not. It was never. These people are just creating, repeating stories created by certain missionaries and a lot of anti-Hindu Indians.
And one more thing I would like to add to this question, that on one hand they tell us that, oh, Indians, open defecation is a problem in India, and if you can remember your childhood days, whenever you used to go to your Nanihal and village, you used to go to farms. Were farms not there in those times that we made them do all this kind of thing? तब खेतों के आग लग गई थी, मिट्टी कहीं उड़ गई थी आसमान में, कि हम लोगों को लगा रहे थे गंदगी साफ करने के लिए. ऑन दी अदर हैंड, आई हैव रेड दैट ब्रिटिश यूज्ड टू डू इट इवन इन द 19th century. Certain
Correct.
people used to clean
Correct.
their shit at the midnight and used to put it in the Thames River. That's how cholera spread.
That was a
Now
separate
my question
profession.
is complete.
They were called chambermaids or chamberlains.
Yes, even when British came to India, there were many porters who would carry the toilet, and think about all that, right? So someone here earlier told the British brought the sanitation system to India, and we know from archaeological evidence, Indus Valley civilization 6,000 years ago, there were um, sanitation, drainage, like the sewage systems. So, and $45 trillion is what British stole from India. Imagine how much we could have done with that. So India was constantly in war zone for thousands of years. So it's a bit unfair to criticize that proper developments did not happen, because developments don't happen in war zones. When a country is at war, invasion after invasion, certain projects take a lower priority, and it's bad. So please, anyone who said British brought the sanitation system to India, please also say they took $45 trillion back in return.
Now they also took the sanitation system from us. They are just getting to know that you should wash rather than wiping yourself.
yeah, okay. So, we have to first agree on one thing, whether we had sanitation system or we used to go out in the open. So, at least we have to be very clear on this part. If we had a sanitation system 6,000 years back, and if it was installed in every household in India 1,000 years back,
Andolanji,
that's a different aspect.
even today,
Just one second, Dhoni, right? So my point is, this is what happens in most of the discussions. We do not accept the reality, and that is why where we go wrong in arguing our points. I think everybody is aware that 90% of the population of this country till about 50 years back used to live in villages. Where they used to go for toilets is known to everybody. If that was the case, why would a toilet cleaning mechanism or person would be required? This
so
is only an urban issue, right?
right, and even today in so-called California, there are open defecation. There's homeless people, rampant drug abuse, and people have lost their
So
homes and
open
their health and
defecation
their
is no
mind.
open defecation is not a major issue because the entire animal ecosystem does open defecation itself.
But like not in the
So
cities, right?
how does it?
People do
Not
it
in
in
the city.
village,
So
in the
so this
woods.
is so which is what I'm saying. This is an urban issue, right? My point is slightly different. My point is not so we have to first frame our thought processes correctly. Whether we had sanitation system from last 6,000 years in every household, or whether we did not needed any sanitation system because 90% of the Indian population was a rural population and they had ample space to go out in the open, which did not require a cleaning staff. Which one is it?
And I have observed two more things, that usually whenever we take help of somebody else to clean the shit, it is usually when a woman has delivered a baby and she can't go out, and or somebody is severely ill, then such kind of arrangements are
Or if it is
being
the
done.
baby itself that needs to be cleaned.
Ye- yeah, yeah, so
But
these
in
kind
my
of
family, Bharviji, in my family,
second
my
sec-
grandmother. So just to give an example, Bharviji, even in
Mhm.
those circumstances, if let's say my grandmother was bedridden for many years, we were the ones
Mhm.
who used to clean her
Exactly.
up.
Yeah.
We didn't, of course there was some help also, but
Hmm.
then the majority of the time it was us who was doing it.
Huh, yeah, it wasn't
If it
considered
is
as
my
if, oh,
if
we
it
are
is
not
my
going to
family
clean it
member,
ourselves.
if it is my
Yeah,
family member, I would and if he or she is incapable of doing it,
yeah,
whether it is a 6 months old child or a 80-year old man or woman, if he's my family member, I would do it.
and usually the ashes, if you know the rock we use in northern India, then that is used. So okay, another thing was, I have also found out that in villages the flush system is quite different than the cities.
But we'll
Early,
be slightly
like
diverting the topic, Bharviji. If we
no,
go into the
I have
sanitation systems,
yeah, but I have a question attached to it. Like, isn't it possible that we had the same kind of flush system back then as well? Because it's just that they dig it deep. The mud is, they have this
that's
column
called
of
sokta.
mud they take out.
That's called sokta.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
so
So,
so that's
isn't it possible that it was there in the olden times as well?
not really
No.
because this concept of having toilet in home is a new one. Earlier, we never used to have toilet inside homes, technically
Uh,
Then where
speaking.
did we
if
find
I'm
these
not wrong,
flush?
wait.
Well,
Uh,
okay,
yeah, in the Harappan civilization, it has been found. However,
exactly.
we have not had it as a mainstream practice in India for the last several centuries. Okay, so let us not conclude that there was no such system or that only such a system was there. That was there in certain parts, but in the majority of the parts, it wasn't there. Maybe they weren't developed enough. That is okay. There is no problem there. The Shastras give vidhis at the end of the day that can be followed, whether or not you are going outside or having a separate place in your house to clear your stomach. So those could very well be followed, and those are pretty much what people of today call as scientific hygienic things that need to be done.
So, Vigraji, I have a question here. So, I was just listening everybody. So, in that context, if 80% of the people were going to use to field and all that one, there was nobody to clean it up. So, there was actually practically there was this so-called this left liberal cabal who comes out with the Shudra was cleaning. So, there is actually practically there was no Shudra in the sense to clean the toilet, but yes.
So in urban settings, yes. So let us also be very clear in terms of a lot of times what had happened. We also take extreme positions, right? And that makes our entire credibility take a dent. So in urban settings,
Those
yes,
are
there were toilets, there were people who were cleaning the toilets, but it wasn't like
Mhm.
that it was it's a 100 150 200-year-old phenomena post urbanization, not before that.
But it's still like till I know like till I think like 20, 20, 30 years back till like India is considered to be the like at one time in my childhood we used to be India is considered to the like the country of villages. If we just consider it as like even 60% also, I'm taking on to the higher side. If the 60% of the people are there, so it means majority of the people were not at all Sudra. Like that's what I'm trying to consider it, bring that point over there. When the majority of the people are not
No,
doing it,
but
it means
ha,
they are not the
so
Shudra.
let me
Period.
clarify. So let me clarify, right? When we classify Shudra, even Goldsmith gets classified as Shudra,
Doctor,
right? Which is just 1 second, no, not doctors, but but purely going from a caste classification. The Sonars are classified as Shudras, the Luhars are classified as Shudras, the Balais are
why
classified as Shudras. Just 1 second, so and we all know a goldsmith would probably be earning 10 times that of an ironsmith, right? So we have to keep in mind when we say that our understanding should also be clear, right? Because a lot of times we get trapped into these small little discussions. Are there not cleaning staff in US? Are there not
Yeah.
cleaning staffs in UK?
The generator, they call them generator. Yes.
Yeah, janitors, right? Are they not there? They are. And what's the problem in cleaning a toilet? Is that a bad profession? No, I do. I do it. I do it at my household. I do it at my office. As I told my grandmother was bedridden for 8 years. Me, my brother, my father, my mother used to do it for her as well.
If I may speak, I think this is just one question pointed out by one guy, that too in this room, and we have been spending lots and lots of time on it. However, more commonly and popularly spread myths are still there. I think we should move on to those questions. But before that, Andolanji, I just saw a message on chat which requests you to get your friend Ganesh to leave that room, which is being hosted by the Hindu haters. If you could do that, kindly do it.
I have pinged him. I have also dropped him a message, but there are some people who would,
Okay.
it's okay. So we should not blame him. It's perfectly all right. Let there be a voice who is speaking. I also go to those rooms. It's not that I don't, but then again, it clearly seems after one or two rooms that the agenda of those rooms is not knowledge sharing or coming from good faith, but to trap people to gain clout, right? And that is why I was there for a while and I moved out of that room precisely for the same reason. But having said so, it's not about this room or the other. The idea today, there is a reason I put up this room, because this question is now being raised repeatedly across social platforms, across personal interactions, and somewhere we probably need to come to a stage where we are able to address this question. Was there a problem earlier? Was there a problem in the medieval period? Was there a problem in our scriptures? Is there a problem now? What are the possible solutions? Ambedkar wrote something about it. Gandhi wrote something about it. A lot of other people have written a lot of other things about it. So we just need to have come on a common understanding what's actually the scenario, and how to go and respond and talk about it. I don't think we should escape this topic.
Very
What
well said.
most of the So Patrick G, you come from a framework which is outside an Indian perspective. How would you view? I know you have you have knowledge about Indian scriptures and Indian philosophy, but how would you view or the Indian or the Hindu system with respect to the caste ecosystem or Varna ecosystem?
Yeah, thank you. I've been able to educate myself on it, but I think that's the fundamental difference between what I witnessed in that other right. It's not clear right away. A room is often very different than the purpose of the room. And so the purpose of that room was to sabotage and to spread hate. The the level of ignorance that I see on all levels is overwhelming. So I'm glad that started, but I'm glad that he left right away as well, because obviously they weren't interested. They were reading an article from the BBC and the rest of it. So, I think the really simple thing is that we just, like focus on sadhana, focus on knowledge, focus on satsang, hold each other's hands, and spread the light, deepen our awareness, deepen the connection that we have within the community. Um, if there are people in that room that are interested in genuinely educating themselves, then they'll come. But to waste time, to waste Acharya's time, with people like that pedophilia, that guy from the UK, the Pakistani, is just a disgusting human being. I've heard him in so many different rooms, but that's very common. So, what do you do? I think the easy thing is just to remind them when you're talking to them is that Hindus had nothing to do with the extermination of 6 million Jews. It had nothing to do with the extermination of indigenous people in North America. It had nothing to do with the 100 million slaves that were pulled out of Africa. Hindus had nothing to do with that. And so you could go on the long list of the human tragedies that have unfolded. Sanatana Dharma has nothing to do with any of that. And so for them to point at this tiny little issue and the confusion between caste and Varna, it's easy to get around. But the most important thing, I think, for all of us, and this is always a reminder for me, that why the hell would I waste my time with people in that room when I can, hang out with you, because I know several of you, and I love learning from you, and I love just hanging out and listening and deepening our bond. And that's the only way. That's the only salvation. I don't really distinguish when I call, the ignorant pedophile. I understand that is what we are right now, and so we just have to deepen our level of understanding and awareness, and that is going to magically transform the world. It's not going to happen by trying to slap them across the head. They're not ready for it. They're not interested in the truth. They're afraid of it, and that's what Sanatana Dharma represents, is the truth. That's the eternal truths that molded by our Saptarishis, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of the truth, and that's why Islamists are petrified at what's happening in India, the revolution that's happened there, the awakening, that it's happening all over. I'm on the west coast of Canada. My brothers and sisters are all over the planet. And we did that. Our culture spread without a single shot being fired. And that's the strength of Dharma. So anyway, that's all I have to say for now. How do you?
So let me introduce a new dimension to the discussion, and this I've been deliberating, for some time now. A lot of people, associate the Varna system or the caste system with the, initiation of Hinduism, and so that's one way of looking at it. People have given it a social color and a political color. What we have not analyzed is the economical impact of the Varna system. Now, before any new ideology came into this country in form of, whether it was the Alexander's invasion, whether it was the, Islamic invasion, whether it was the British and the European invasions, weren't we a economic powerhouse? And, wouldn't that credit also go to the Varna system? The reason people came to India and were trying to loot it or trying to subjugate it because we were an economic powerhouse. How can we take the contribution of Varna system of this being an economic powerhouse itself? Is that not a valid thought to must analyze and debate?
I agree. That's definitely a positive thing.
Can you repeat yourself, please?
His basic point is The same Varna system has given that GDP and that money that all the invaders wanted to come, money and the technology and the education, Shastras and all, that they looted and destroyed. So is it not
Okay,
that we should credit to the Varna system? That's the point.
and I also feel that one more thing, that the conversions, the level of conversions, they try, the the scale, on the scale they tried to do the conversions, caste system became a huge hurdle to them along with Brahmins. That's
So
why
it's not just
missionaries.
about so it's not just about caste system and Brahmins. And this is another point which I normally raise. If I look into 2000 2500 year history, which is reasonably well documented, currently, if you look at the backward caste in India, that constitute roughly 60% of the Hindu population, right? And that was always the case. Across, if we go all the way back to the Magad Empire and Chanakya days, and maybe a bit earlier to that as well, post which we get fairly decent details of history. Now, there was a rule of Buddhist all the way starting from the start of the Common Era, all the way up to the 8th century AD, where Buddhist kings ruled large tracts of India, anywhere between 50 to 80%, right? Subsequent to that, 11th century onwards, all the way up to 18th century, Muslims were ruling the country, or large parts thereof. And subsequent to that, Christians were ruling the country, Britishers, right? Now, I have a couple of questions which I normally want to ask. If there were rulers in this country, so Buddhism, Islamism, and Christians, who are traditionally opposed to a discrimination. Well, I would not agree to whether they are opposed to discrimination, but they claim so. If that was the claim, why didn't, and they were incentivizing people to convert, whether it was Buddhism, whether it was Islam, whether it was Christianity, why would Indian population still remain 60% Dalits and backward class? Why did people choose not to move? They had no threat. The rulers were Buddhist, Islamist, and Christians. Second question is, if there was so high prevalence of caste discrimination that it was a social issue, were there any laws made by any of these kings, Mughals, Islamist, or Christians, which said caste discrimination would not be tolerated? So, if anybody has, viewpoints upon these two areas, I would definitely like to, know about it.
That's not even their preview to see the discrimination and see some cover, some fixes there. Their primary goal is to convert. I don't care what levels you are. So that is their subscription, and I completely agree with Patrick's earlier point. And I also remember Jay Lakhani. He was dead. He died recently during COVID. He got this. Why are we being completely misled? He said like the mammoth knowledge or the gigantic information or the greatness of Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, if the world knows these two religions, organized religions, fall like placards. Because of that, they have to consistently invest into defaming this Sanatana Dharma. So that is that is the reason in America the first thing about caste about Hinduism is about caste, not about the architecture, not about the Ayurveda, not about the Kama Sutra, nothing but the caste, which is not even native for us.
So, anybody would like to take a go at these 3 points: economic impacts of Varna system, why? Yeah.
As long as the Varna system was followed, India was the world's largest economy.
Yes.
I don't know how many people are aware of history, but when the Mughals invaded India, for 1 century, overall they say China was the largest economy and India was the second largest. Up until that point, India was the largest economy, and even the century after that, India again became the world's largest economy. It was only during the British era when words such as caste started being used and people started getting pitched against each other, and new terms like Dalits were also introduced, that India actually stopped being the world's largest economy and entered into a state of poverty. It is when the Varna Dharma was destroyed that all of these things happened. Now, there is a very beautiful book called The Indian Models of Economy and Finance. Let me just.
Yes.
Uh,
Please share
yeah,
this book with Veer Raghavaji. I'm
Please.
currently, yeah.
yeah, I'm
And if you have
just give
read
me a
it,
minute.
you can also, share some summary of it because that would
Yes,
be an
yes, I have
interesting
read
thing.
it. Now, this is a book that has been, whose contents have been taught by Mr. Gurumurthy to IIT students. Uh, I didn't type correctly, wait, of economy and finance. Yeah. So, Indian models of economy, business, and management. I think that is the name of the book. I'll share the link right now. Just give me a few seconds.
No worries, no worries. Barbie, you wanted to say
Mm,
something. In the meanwhile, you can.
Yeah, I had a question related to uh, jati. We all look at jati from the view of um, profession and guna and all those things.
Can
How
I request one thing, Barbie? Can I
uh,
request one thing? If you could just hold on to this question for a while, because I
okay,
wanted a bit more discussion on, the
okay,
economic
okay,
impact of Varna
cool.
system. Why does people chose to remain, quote unquote, backward when they had the option to move into Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity for a very large period of time, 2000 years. Why did they chose to remain with Hinduism? And third was, what was the third point that I raised? Uh, Even I forgot. But nonetheless, let me go to G Murthy ji. G Murthy ji, what's your view?
आई थिंक ये जो आपने सवाल उठाया बहुत ही बढ़िया सवाल है ये जाति का जो इकोनॉमिक सिस्टम था बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली आई जस्ट ज्वाइन यू बट ऑब्वियसली वी हैड दिस जाति और जाति सिस्टम इट वाज अ वेरी पोरस सिस्टम और इस पोरस सिस्टम में इट वाज नॉट रिलेटेड टू बर्थ itself, it was related to professionalism. So that is why Ved Vyas was the for Mahabharat and Valmiki for Ramayana. So similarly, Rom Harshan was a big rishi, and he was the head of all the rishis. So what I'm trying, and he was not from Brahmin caste as such. So what I'm trying to say is that of course we had a system of Gurukul system, जिसकी वजह से education and economy was so robust that everybody wanted to come over to India. That's why Vasco da Gama ho ya Christopher Columbus ho, all wanted to come to India. So the system got worsened because of the Christian and Islamic revolution and the Islamic invasion, and because of that's why Ghori wanted to come 17 times. He attacked, and 18th time he won, and then he killed Prithviraj Chauhan. So that is different. And then if you look at Christianity, this is what happened with Christianity also. When Robert Caldwell Luke came to Madras presidency, he was not even British, and he was a bishop. And the first viceroy, he was sent as a bishop. And this bishop, his aim was to break India. So these were breaking India forces, and unfortunately, when what 800 years of Islamic invasion, which was mostly on the northern side, which was mostly in Delhi and UP and Gujarat side a bit, and on Afghanistan, and there was not much of Islamic downwards because they prevented it was they prevented the Islam to go down towards south. So with the result, we still had those Gurukul systems there, but When Robert Caldwell came, he came straight to Madras presidency, and when he came to Madras presidency, this was the only way he could have broken Indians, and he could break the economy. And then what they did is, with help of Macaulay also, they did that. They drilled this concept of this slavery concept into the gray matter of Indians by finishing Gurukul system. That's why they finished the Gurukul system, and I think that's where the problem lies, and then the subsequent lineage, which was Gandhi Nehru lineage, which were puppets of Britishers. They continued that lineage, and it continued for past 70 years. So we only got, actually, to be honest, we only got independence in 2014, since our beloved Modi ji has come as a prime minister. That's what I would say.
I need to speak a bit there. Kiranji, kindly give me 1-2 minutes. Firstly, the Gurukul system by and large has been destroyed today, and people are forced to go through Western education. I think that is what the person who just spoke was trying to imply, Gyan Murthy ji. The thing is, we still have Gurukuls and we still have the traditional Pathshalas, but we do not have enough number of people, irrespective of community, willing to go there and try learning. And we have bigger problems as well. Even if they really go there in large numbers tomorrow, they may also not have the space or the number of qualified people to teach. The real problem is that wherever they are still surviving, they are not being nurtured. And this is to be seen as a very serious problem, because had they been nurtured properly, we would have had plenty of scholars to prevent such lies about Varna and other various lies that were spoken in that room back when we were there. All of those lies are entering the mainstream only because we do not have enough number of scholars to clarify to the public.
Absolutely right, sir. Absolutely right. Adolaji, I want to give one example here. My nephew was given an option to pick up an extra language, an optional language in Delhi school. He took the additional option of reading Sanskrit, and by the time in the beginning there were about 10 students in that school which took Sanskrit. By the time he reached the 10th class, he was the only one student, and the teachers continuously pestered my nephew that he shouldn't be doing this Sanskrit language, because they had to keep a Sanskrit teacher for him. So he should either take German language, or he should take Spanish, or he should take French. They have more job prospectus. Why he is doing like this and that? So they kept on pestering, but he never told us. But at the end, he ended up telling his father once that, this is what has happened. My school is pestering me to change this optional language from Sanskrit to Spanish. That's when my brother went to the dean, to the head of the department, or to the principal, and he asked him that, I am going to sue this school if you ask my son again to change this language thing. So I think you are absolutely right. We don't have people to nurture these institutions wherever they are. So initially there were 10 students, then it reduced to one, and that was also difficult. Thank
Just
you.
on 10 seconds there. In the same context, right? We read in a Telugu one book. I don't remember the book name. We like Telugu. So in that book, what it was tell, no, they when the British wanted and when they researched it, no, they literally said this system we cannot break unless the Gurukul system has to be broken, because Gurukul system, if not broken, the youth coming out of Gurukul system, they are educated about logical, they are weaponized, weapons they are educated, and they are youth ready to fight for the country. The Matru Bhumi kind of a concept is so much imbibed that you cannot even touch them against their country. So this has to be completely wiped up, uprooted. For that, what they had, whoever is the biggest, very top guru said, they literally killed people and proposed an alternative system called convent system. Hey, if you come to convent system, you are getting jobs from our governance. But if you go to this gurukulism, we don't even recognize, so there is no jobs, nothing for this one. So that incentivized one side for not joining gurukul system and punishing literally the top gurus and killing them also, was that has practiced when British are getting the power as they get it. So that is a book that we read in the same clubhouse sometime back, like 2 3 months back.
And I add something more onto it. If we had Gurukul system, who were the maximum students? Maximum students were from the lower Varna in that Gurukul. So mostly, so that is what equipped us against those comments about caste system and things like that.
But
So because
one small question, Ji Murthy ji, and this question is to V. Raghavan ji and anybody else who has knowledge about the scriptures. Uh, when we talk about Varna system, V. Raghavan ji, are there any castes which are Varnas which are higher? Are there any Varnas which are lower?
none.
We normally
No,
use it in our languages that higher, lower, upper, etc., etc. But as per our scriptures, are there any classification that this is higher, this is lower, etc., etc.?
no, there is no such classification as higher or lower. But see, if they are going to be presented in a particular order, uh, just because they come in the order of 1, 2, 3, 4, it does not mean that one is always superior to 4, right? So it is just an order of listing that we sometimes see being repeated. In fact, even that order changes once in a while. So there are places where you see Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. There are also places where you see Kshatriya, Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra. That does not imply anything. Secondly, we have places like in that room they were discussing about Purusha Sukta. Yes, there is a verse in Purusha Sukta that actually says that the fourth Varna came from the feet of Bhagavan. It is said that way. But what should we understand there? First of all, it does not say Brahma, that they refer to foreigners' translations, therefore they are bound to make that mistake. They don't know the difference between Brahma and Brahma. Uh, Now, Brahma refers to the Supreme Being, Bhagavan. From him, we say that all the four Varnas came. Now, this description there in Purusha Sukta, it is not literal. First of all, it is completely figurative. Secondly, what it says is not an insult to the fourth Varna, because although it says they come from the feet, the very next line, what does it say? It says that the entire earth came from the feet of Bhagavan. It really says that. Padhyam Bhumihi is said in that same Purusha Sukta. Now, how are they going to explain that? They don't take that, right? They cherry pick it. Therefore, they say, oh, look, this is an inferior thing. Because according to them, if Shudras are inferior because they came from the feet of Bhagavan, then the entire earth should be inferior. We should not even touch the earth. But that is not what we do, right? We literally live on the earth. So, what is actually said there is a totally different thing. Instead of understanding scriptures the way they are, people are imposing their malicious views upon the scriptures, and that is the reason why such notions of superiority and inferiority come. I don't remember who, but
But
somebody
but this is
mentioned that
what
in.
Robert Caldwell did when he came to India. This is what he did exactly.
Yes, yes,
But the reason I raised this question and the point, V. Raghavanji, that people who are in this room who are coming from the Hindu faith ecosystem, abnormally we adopt to the classification done by aliens, and we chose to use the same terminologies. Maybe it would be a good idea that when we communicate on a global forums or social forums, we probably need to use a bit of more a bit of language which the language itself doesn't sound discriminatory. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, so it becomes very important to clarify to the public. As a matter of fact, not only is there an absence of a mention that one Varna is superior to another, there is also the presence of various verses here and there, like in Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, in Pancharatra. You see it all over the script. You see it in Ramayana also. You see various places where there is clear proof that there is no such treatment as inferior or superior. Okay, so in Ramayana, like we see Guha, who is a Nishada, we see a number of other people, right? We see Shabari, and then in Mahabharata also we see a number of people that way, and direct verses are there, like Yudhishthira said, talking in Yaksha Prashna in Manaparva, or Yudhishthira talking to Nahusha, as somebody pointed out. So lots and lots of pramanas are there in Puranas also. We see that, which say that irrespective of varna, if a person is having saintly qualities, that person is worshipable. If the person is having the exact opposite qualities, then irrespective of varna, that person is condemnable. That is what the scriptures have said everywhere. But uh, unfortunately, because we most of us have lost the traditional roots and today rely on online PDFs at best. I say at best because most people just rely on random views of people, or just whatever people comment on social media. They just ask their doubts on social media and wait for people to answer. It's because they learn from the wrong sources, non authoritative sources, that such misconceptions occur.
So what I did, V Raghavaji, I actually went ahead and while we were talking, I ordered this book from Amazon.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, so I did not explain about this book, right? This book explains about like the first few chapters of the book. There you see how in the Indian economy was actually doing very great. This book also contains a few case studies where community-based business, like for instance in Gujarat, you see a lot of community-based business, right? A single family will be there, or they will be running a business, or just a large family will be there with a lot of people doing business, or there would be a number of different families which are connected to each other by that particular business itself, which have been doing the business since generations. Now a lot of these things are not well known outside, because in general news usually comes only from the tertiary sector like IT and other things. However, in the manufacturing sector especially, if we go and look at it, plenty of contribution is being done to GDP. In fact, far more contribution than what the tertiary sector is doing is than the service sector is actually doing, is being done by these traditionally formed organizations and companies that work on the basis of community based work, and that is working successfully because people know their roles, they are happy with their roles, nobody treats anybody as inferior or superior. They do their work, and everything is assembled, right? Like they say in the West, for example, when they discovered the concept of assembling parts to make the entire product, mass manufacturing was discovered. That is what they say. And that same concept is what we are talking about here. You have different people doing different work, combine all of them and you have such a great work produced. If each one of them competes and says, no, I will make the same part, then like, oh, what would you really have? You would not have the complete product, right? So that is why in that room also I said that Varna should be seen like four different directions. Don't see them as one above the other. See one on the other side of the others, beside the other, perhaps. Thank you.
Mayavan ji, you have been here for a while, and Raina ji, would you like to share some thoughts? And Rosie ma'am. Mayavan, you're not audible. You might have to exit and come back. Raina, you want to make a point?
Sir, actually, I think that not well describing what is actually written in our Varnas and just telling the commoner a very little part of it is one of the most crucial weapons through which you can show them in a negative way, which has actually been used by the West since ages, since ages. Like they just told us that in your Varnas, and we were illiterate at that time, to be honest, we were. So they just told us that in your Varnas, it's written that a Shudra comes from the feet of God, as Sir told. But they didn't mention the next part, that everyone else comes from the feet of God. and hence we created a negative mindset because of illiteracy towards Varnas, and also because of a blindly faith towards them, that it is actually there whether it be or not. And actually, if you deeply study a Varnas, things are mentioned with well verified reasons, and most importantly, things are mentioned which are changeable. For example, I was reading somewhere, like not the PDFs and all, we have such discussions quite frequently in our school groups. And one of my friend who was like a priest's son told me that you won't believe me, but in Manusmriti it's actually written that rules can be changed according to place and according to time. And I was shocked. I was like, really? He was like, yeah. So rules are changeable, like the things which are written aren't permanent. They were applicable to the space and time which was there at that era. Right now, rules are changeable. Rules are actually changeable as compared to them. So we think that our varnas are that rigid, and we think that our varnas are not verifiable because we haven't actually read the reasons towards them, because of our illiteracy towards them, and also we believe what the other person tells us.
Yogi, you want to say something? My one, I think there's a glitch. You have to exit and enter the room. Then only you'll be able to speak. There's no sound coming. So, Yogi, I think it's the same problem with you. You might have to exit and enter. Then only you'll be audible. There's some issue.
तो आंदोलन जी मैं कुछ बोल दूं?
Please, please.
You see, Rana, the Indian people, we consumed this caste system. What was taught to us by Westerners. If you look at our previous, our education, it was not something which was absolutely teacher based. The better student, because most of the 80% of the students were from other castes, so it was not important at all. Because the highest grade student, it was the duty of the highest grade student to bring the other children up to his level. So that was the kind of education we had. So I think we all consumed this, and it is exactly like in, I think Veer Raghavanji will correct me, the full shloka in Mahabharata was ahimsa paramo dharma, dharma hinsa tadavache. So they cut it into half, ahimsa paramo dharma only. So that was the only thing which was left because of whatever reasons. So we never realized that the full shloka is ahimsa paramo dharma, dharma hinsa tadavache. We never read that. So for dharma, we have to do this hinsa, which is much more important and which is much more better. So I think that's where we lacked. So we only read half, like what Veer Raghavaji was telling you, right? That from the feet itself, the whole earth came, from the feet of the God. So they don't speak those things. So this is what exactly Britishers did to us. So this inferiority complex has to go out of our minds, and we have to be proud Hindus, and that is where we will change the things. That's how we can change the things. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, now you're audible.
Oh, okay. So basically, I agreed with most of the points that Veeragwanji made earlier. I kind of joined as for speaker, like just to cite a couple of other books. Some of the forum members probably already are well versed about that. All of them are basically Dharampal's books, like three of them I suggest. One is like Civil Disobedience in Indian Tradition, and second one is Indian Science and Technology, and third one is The Beautiful Tree. Beautiful Tree is definitely a must read, even if you don't read the other two. And the only caveat is, like, all of these three Dharampal's books are freaking expensive. It is close to $45-50 each of them.
And there is one consolidated work by Dharampal's daughter, Geeta Dharampal, and she kind of condensed the essence of all three books in essential writings of Dharampal. And that is currently on sale in Amazon right now. It is very relevant to the topic, and I suggest everyone to read that. With that said, like I just wanted to quote a couple of things from his books. Like Dharampal basically holds British more critical than Mughals when it came to like destructing India culture and everything. So he primarily cites like late 18th century to early 19th century as the primary reason, the policies that were carried out by the Britishers during that time as the primary reason than like anything before that or after that. And like let me just read out a couple of phrases. This is what he says, quote, these schools in India, like by late 18th and early 19th century, taught a sophisticated curriculum with daily school attendance by about 30% of the children aged between 6 to 15 years. Astoundingly, the majority of students belong to communities who were classified as Shudra or even lower. In some areas, for instance in Kerala, even Muslim girls were very well represented. This data was a real eye opener for reappraisal of historical tradition of education of India. And like for anyone who personally knew the Rampal, he is a Gandhian. And he definitely is not a Hindu nationalist or pro BJP or like Jan Sangh or yes, he was quite close with JP Narayan and everyone, but he very much is a Gandhian, and this is the what like the view that he held. And in another page, he says this. Okay, all this kind of started like in early 19th century, provides details of British government policy concerning the Christianization of India, which was initiated in 1813 after lengthy parliamentary debates. And that is what he kind of cites as the root cause of like everything that has been culturally destroyed. And one other phrase I'm just going to read out before I sign off, and then people can like guess who might have said that. Uh, Give me 1 second. Let me just go back to that phrase. Okay. I say without fear of my figures being challenged successfully that today India is more literate than it was 50 or 100 years ago. And so is Burma. Because the British administrators, when they came to India, instead of taking hold of things as they were, began to root them out. They scratched the soil and began to look at the root and left the root like that. Then the beautiful tree perished. And like, can anybody guess? This speech was made in 1931 in Royal Institute of International Affairs. Can anyone guess who made the speech?
Maybe if you can.
It is Mahatma Gandhi. So Gandhi was very well aware, and like Gandhi, in fact, has been contrary to what many criticized Gandhi. Even I did that prior to reading of the Rampal's work. I was under the impression that Gandhi was a stooge of the Britishers. But if he consistently has expressed uh, this kind of views, like Indian cultural views, is what like Swadeshi, in fact, is probably a result of that. Like he consistently emphasized the need of tracing our cultural roots and then like tweaking to work in tandem with the modern society rather than complete reinvention or buying everything from the West. That has been his philosophy from the beginning, and like all the way, like from late 1920s until his death, like even few months before his death, like he held that view consistently. And all of them are very well documented. The speeches, reference, citation, everything were very well documented in all of the three, the Rampal's book. Whether it is social,
So
education. economy, like
What
everything.
I've done, what I have done, my MNG, I have included the link of BJP sites where I think these books can be read freely.
Okay.
So that link I pasted on the top of the room,
Okay.
and which includes not only the collected writings but also all the other works of Dharampalji.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe you can, one can say $40.
Yeah, I already have all the three. Like I read couple of them.
Okay.
So it's the other two. It is like still being used as a paperweight for the last 1 year. I have to get to that.
But I think there's one thing, about Gandhi. He was given what you call a post of what you call sergeant major in British with Britishers when he was fighting when Britishers fought Boer War in South Africa, and then the problem is he stayed for 20 years in South Africa. When he came from London to South Africa. He did not touch India at that point of time, at Bharat at that point of time. And when he left from Cape Town, he went straight to London. He did not touch Bharat again. So that's a very doubtful role, because when he went from Cape Town, he went to London and came back and pushed, I don't know, more than 10,000 people for 10,000 Bhartiyas for World War One, and later on 70,000 for World War Two. So I think that is where his role is doubtful.
Yeah, but we'll not touch upon that here. That's a separate room and a separate discussion. So what we are trying to do out here in this room is to address any queries with respect to Varna caste. We also are welcoming people to come on a stage to ask any question, as long as the intent is to exchange ideas and not to fight. We'll try to answer any queries. And the second, if you know most of the answers, we would also like to know, how to respond to these queries. So in that case also you can come up. What would be the best way to respond to somebody when he raises this question, specifically from people who do not have much idea about Hinduism. They come, let's say, somebody from US asked this question or UK asked this questions. So that's the intent of the room. So Yogi, you had not spoken. So in case you want to go ahead. Rosie ji, and there is a plus sign. Yes, plus plus plus. Any of you three can either ask question or share your views.
Yeah, namaste, hello. Um, so, you know, based on the overall structure of how how Sanatan Dharma has been um, um devised, or the way in which the entire philosophy has been made in a scientific way through right kind of observation of the world around, the rishis and the sages. Uh, when we talk about varna, we I also have to keep in parallel the purusharths which are there of dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. So considering that there's a concept of jivatma who is going through a certain experience of life, and there are certain kind of needs which need to be fulfilled, starting from the survival needs and the higher human needs of understanding, of exploration, and then freedom from the limitation. That desire to be free from limitation and to experience the freedom, liberation, moksha is there even in so-called designated Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmana. So when we talk about Varnas, we have to see that um, these categories which were made based on the understanding of Purushartha, as these are the human beings who are seeking liberation. And of course there was a social angle as well, based on the potential, the talents, swadharma, which need to be kind of there based on their talents, their unique kind of skills. Maybe we see even now that certain people are gifted on an intellectual level, where their ability to grasp a certain thing is very high. Certain people on a very kind of authority level of administrating and getting tasks done, execution. Certain people on the level of getting the business done, work, money. Certain people were in artistic, creative. So you can see that it was also a very kind of what they call as career counseling, and you choose a good career which brings out your potential. You brings out your innate talent and riches. The same way, when the people used to go to Gurukul, they were given this kind of understanding also, that what would suit you and what you can do. I believe that is something which definitely, based on their wisdom and understanding, this is what would have been happening. And then these people used to come from their brahmacharya state, ashram. They used to follow the grahastha ashram. They used to do the vanprastha and the sannyasa, and based on this kind of final goal of moksha, the entire society was kind of living. Now, when people talk about higher and lower, upper and kind of down, in terms of discrimination, putting someone down, I don't think so. That is something which these great rishis or sages must have kind of thought of. But of course, corruption happens at all level, whether it is at the business level, whether it is political level, even religious institutions can be kind of corrupted. The film industry, the sports, there is corruption wherever the human mind is not free from the bondage and shackles of ignorance and driven only by artha and kama. So even someone who may be claiming to a Brahman, corruption must have gone into the head over there, and it may kind of because Brahman is someone who has gotten a better understanding of certain laws, certain things on a higher level, wherein that understanding is something which formulates these laws and orders of the society, and the one who executes it in the right way is the kshatriya, and the one who are going to kind of get the benefit, derive the benefit through the means of business and arts and all these other kind of
हाँ
things which keep a society
हाँ योगी
going.
जी, थोड़ा सा समराइज करके आप अपना पॉइंट अगर 30 सेकंड में खत्म कर लें तो हाँ।
Okay, so what I am seeing that what I see is that hierarchy or varna or this system is even present in certain animals and insects. Like there are soldier ants, there is a queen ant, there is a warrior ant, there are forager ants. In animals also there are certain categories wherein a group is led by certain kind of creatures or animals who have certain distinct feature. Even in a company you have a hierarchy, but all are employees. Similarly, you have to see that in varna, even if this hierarchy is made, the goal of the entire kind of hierarchy is to move towards dharma and moksha.
Yep. Okay. So, because, just few minutes back, what we discussed and concluded that as per Shastras, there is no reference to somebody being higher or lower. Of course, it's mentioned of 4 Varnas, but it's not mentioned that, this is higher than that and this is higher than that. So, what you are talking is somewhat different. So, Yogi, this is coming from any Shastriya parampara or any scriptural reference, or this is your personal viewpoint?
So that is one question which I wanted clarification on, because when you talk about higher and lower, I'm not talking of someone who is given due of respect, that because one is at a certain position, one is a CEO, one should be respected, and one is the driver of the CEO, the other one should not be respected. So I'm not talking of that kind of higher or lower, wherein you are giving someone respect based on their work and their nature of work, what they're doing. I'm talking higher or level in terms of, or maybe an hierarchy in terms of how a society kind of gets arranged around certain principles, that there are resources which are there. Those resources have to be consumed and then managed in a proper way, and then
So
there are
Yogi,
certain kind of laws.
your view to look at it is CEO, manager, and workers. What we got to do, it is more like finance department, marketing department, HR department, and sales department. What you're mentioning is something hierarchical. What we came to know is about functional. So what is it, and what is your reference point?
See, my reference point even is something, hierarchy is also there in the body. That's what I'm saying. There are body parts which people don't want to kind of see it as very kind of nice or good, based on the function what they
No,
do.
no, I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about you, Yogi. How do you see it?
I see it
Are
as
there
an
any
I
are
see
there
it as
any
an
bod
hierarchy.
are there any body parts which you see have a higher hierarchy in your body compared to others?
Of course, the head, the brain, which governs and which understands and grasps, it will guide the emotions, the hearts, and then the hands and the feet are going to do uh, kind of the work which is based on what needs to be done. So they work in tandem, and it's not a kind of in a insulting hierarchy just because the head is evolutionary placed high, the spine has been erect, and there are kind of other structures which are down there. It doesn't mean that it is something which the other body parts are condemnable. It's just that it is the hierarchy, just
Got
accepting
it.
that
Got it.
uh,
Got it. Got it. Got it. So
someone
Yogi
goes
just
to
wanted
a
to
guru,
understand.
someone goes to a
Yeah,
guru
yeah.
in a gurukul.
No, got
uh,
it. Got it, Yogi. Got it. Got it. Your point. Okay. So we have Anamika and Anand also.
no,
So
I had a
Anamika,
one question based
yeah.
on clarification which I wanted. So my question was, in Gita, it is mentioned about there is a mention of gunas, and how those
Guna
rajas, the
karma, yeah,
tamas, sattva,
guna
and
karmas. We discussed this, Yogi. So what you can do is, once the room closes, there's recording of this room available. V. Raghavaji was here till 10-15 minutes back, and he discussed that in detail. So you can refer the discussion in the recording. I may not be able
okay.
to
So
explain
was
everything.
this discussed that whether the
Yes,
guna
yes,
karma theory kind of determines the varna?
yes, that was discussed.
And if that determines the varna, then someone who kind of moves from tamas, rajas to brahman, he will kind of become kind of self-realized, and then he may
Ah,
also
so,
have to
so,
change
so,
his
so, so,
profession.
so, so you want to ask a question, or you want to respond to a question
No,
that
I
we
want to
asked
ask the
ourselves?
question, was this
So
is
which is what I said. So this was discussed. You can go through the recordings, and
okay?
yeah. So let me go to Anamika and Anand. Anamika and Anand, would you like to share some thoughts here? Otherwise, we'll be closing the room in about 10 minutes.
जय श्री राम आंदोलन जी, जय श्री राम एवरीवन। मेरे को
अच्छा, ये आपका नया नाम है? अच्छा,
ये मेरा नया नाम है।
सही है.
सो आई वन आई एम ड्राइविंग थ्रू माउंटेन्स, so अगर मेरी आवाज कटे तो मुझे बोल देना, because I'm driving through the mountains. So I just came, I mean, I've not been in the room for a bit. I just got in here about couple of minutes ago while the previous speaker was speaking. So I was wanting to have the same kind of thing, that the minute we put it in a hierarchical structure, then we are kind of not able to get the message across clearly. And you were very correct in mentioning that it's basically functional. So different varnas had different functions. In today's date, that is also not true. The different varnas don't have different functions. There is no such thing that if you're belong to this varna or something, then you have to you automatically go into this profession. It's not even there. It is not really functional. It's not practical. But I from what I uh, how we live and how we see this unfolding, is the only time people see that is because the upbringing and the culture and the way of worshipping, the festivals, the gods, a lot of things are similar. So you tend to kind of, especially it gains importance in alliances, in marriages and stuff, because it is a cultural similarity that people look for. So I think that's, in my opinion, that's the place where you even think or talk about it. But otherwise, in the day-to-day functioning, it is not really relevant anymore, other than the you know our cultural background or the gods we worship. So I don't know what has been discussed, uh, but yes, there is one thing that people keep asking us about the untouchability. So
Your voice went out, Anamika ji. You're not audible anymore. Okay. So maybe we can go to
Andurunji,
Anand. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Anand
yeah.
can go ahead.
yeah,
I'll go next.
Okay.
yeah.
Am I audible right now?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Just I don't know how it was discussed because if V Raghava ji has already discussed, he would have done in very much detail. So there will be only few things I will be trying to understand and quote here, because these questions were always asked by our own rishis and maharishis. So once this question was asked by Bharadwaja to Bhrigu, so in Moksha Dharma Parv of Mahabharat, and we can refer this. I will refer this into chat box uh, where it is written, and then how what was discussed first thing. So it was asked that how this lower order, upper order was created. So Bhrigu tried to answer this question by saying that in beginning of the creation, he's talking about very ancient beginning. It was many kalpas have been passed, and there is lot of different creation is actually have been ordained. But in very first creation, when there was the first
Anand, your
set
voice
of
is
people.
coming in and out. I'm not sure
No,
if
he's
you're
audible.
using a Bluetooth.
No, he's audible though. I think it's the problem is at your end. Yeah, continue, Anand ji.
So he uh, he tried to answer this, and he was saying that the first time only the brahmanas were created. First thing, brahmanas means everyone was equal, everyone given was given the equal chance. Then with the action and their own desires and their own inactions and their own different state of orders, what they have conducted post that, they have fallen to different uh, orders, like even the pichasas, bhutas, whatever we see, and whatever rakshasas we see, have actually come out of brahmanas itself. Even we can refer Kashyap Rishi's son was two rakshasas, if you remember, Hiranyakashyap and Hiranyaksh. So this is what exactly has happened, and people have actually, due to their own karma, they started falling into the different order, and they are given equal chance to be being upgraded also. So this is what exactly our scripture says, because this was never like we define sometime 4.13 of Bhagavad Gita has been defined in a different way. But exactly, if we want to understand, we should ask how it has been started, because God will never, or Paramatma will never make something which is not equal. So the equal chances is always there, and there is four order, and we cannot deny, but orders are there and we have to respect that order. But there is no permanency of that order. We cannot define this as a permanent and static in nature. And even I have actually quoted the link into the chat box, and it is from Mahabharata, and people can refer and people can quote anywhere whenever it is like people put our dharma into question mark. So this is the only contribution I wanted to make. Thank you.
Okay, so we had a detailed discussion today on this particular topic. Now I'll come back to the original question once again. What is the best way to respond when somebody puts forward this question to you? And if anybody wants to take that up as a summarization, 120 seconds. People who do not understand this ecosystem, who would come from an alien ecosystem, they might be coming from a good place, they might not be coming, they might be coming from a prejudice framework. How do what is the best way to respond? That was the main intent of the room today, is to discuss, deliberate, come on common grounds, and probably see how best to respond to these queries. Now there are multiple ways to do it. One is the shastric way, going and explaining shastras, but at the same time somebody who are slightly notorious would probably misquote a shastra there, you know uh, XYZ, and that becomes a tricky situation. So how best to respond to it?
I can try.
Go ahead.
I think the important thing is that we have to make people understand when Arab Caliphate they came, when they attacked India, they could not go. They could perish the whole Byzantine Empire, the whole Zoroastrians, the whole Persia, and from Hindu Kush to Atlantic Ocean, but they could not proceed beyond Sindh. What was the reason? What was preventing them? Because we were all fighting together as Indians, as Bhartiyas, as Sanatanis. We did not have this system of where we would not fight together. And the system was that our this is still, which is in our army also prevalent today also, our generals and our Sipe Salars or our kings, they would fight up front. They would start fighting right from the beginning, and the whole things would follow. The whole army would follow. So what happened is, when the Britishers came, so the Islamic revolutionaries, they didn't realize what was happening. They tried to convert, but they tried to convert it on the edge of the sword. They killed and converted on that. That was the way they converted. But Britishers used what Islamists could not do. So they got this into us, that this is what you are. This is the caste system. This is how they brought this Aryan and Dravidian theory, and this is how they brought this caste system, and they brought this inferiority complex into the Indians, which was quite huge right up to 2014. Now only the Bhartiyas or Sanatanis are coming out of it and then realizing that we have been duped, and this is how we have been, how the Indians had consumed their theory, because they debased our Gurukul system, our education system, and put this system into place, their system into place. So whenever we would, for example, Ayurveda was very well established medical system, and if Ayurveda was not very well established system, why would Sushruta's statue be in Australian Medical Council? Why would his statue be
Aren't
there?
we deviating a bit from
No,
the
no,
answer?
no, no, no. I'm not. But what I'm trying to say is that we consumed that theory of Britishers, that this is what it
Is
is.
it
You
really
are.
through G. Murthy ji? You really believe that's the case?
I really believe that's
Honestly?
the case. Honestly, sir, I do believe that,
Okay.
and we consumed it. That's what I feel, and that's where the
So
problem
let me
lies.
ask a counter question. Then why it is that when we look at backward caste, they are the same categories, the most economically unempowered? It's a direct match, 94% correlation.
I agree. I agree to some extent. Some people did take an advantage of this system. Some people did take an advantage of this system, and with the result,
Sorry
we
to interrupt. Andolanji, could you please repeat your question?
So the question which I said, that if there was no, caste discrimination, so as to say, in the society, how come that even today the overlap between poor and Dalits and backward caste is 94, 95%?
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, please continue, Murthy.
No, no, I personally feel, as I was telling you, Andolanji, that we got political independence in 1947, but educational independence we only got in 2014. We were not independent. We have started realizing now. It's only now we have started realizing. You see, this is what I have been saying. I say it
So
that
the point which I'm
800
making, Ji Murthy ji, is the
yes.
point which I'm making, Ji Murthy ji, if we deny this, it would only take two arguments to, push the entire credibility of the argument to dust, isn't it?
Okay. I
That's the
mean,
point I was trying to make.
because because I think we will come out of it. Yes, it's taking time, but you see yourself now, things are changing. Things are changing, and things are changing for good. And that's why I'm saying it was possible. It was never thought of before 2014. We never thought like this. But after 2014, India is thinking differently. The Indian youth is thinking differently. So we are actually thinking differently. So I
So,
think
so
this is where the difference is.
one point I wanted to make, and this is my personal opinion. Sometimes, the reason we are not able to answer this effectively is we don't want to acknowledge certain things. Isn't that the truth as well?
No, that's
We are
truth. I
more
agree. I
yeah. So
agree with
the
that.
point,
That from
the point. Just allow me. I just want to make a couple of observations. Is so when we so why are we so worried कि दामन में दाग ना लग जाए, right? I mean, so I see more worry coming from that perspective. I mean, it's a simple one-line statement. Yes, there was issue, and we acknowledge the issue. I mean, the Constitution acknowledges the issue and takes corrective action. Is that not a good enough answer?
100% right, sir. 100% right. Yes, there was an issue. It was consumed and it was done and deliberately done. People were getting advantages out of it and they continued those advantages. Yes, it has been done. But that's why I'm saying that, because this is how we were fed. So now I'm saying is that we only got independence in 2014. We were not independent. We did not think. And India is changing. We are changing. Everybody is a changed man today in India. So I think this change has to come, and it will come. That's my understanding.
Also, Andolanji, just to answer to the second part, not enough is being done, to be honest, because the West believes if you have enough budget, if you appropriate budget to an issue, you can solve it, right? And some of that gets implemented as actions, reforms. But in India, we have been like 70 years since independence, 70 plus years. How much has been implemented? How much of the funds that have been allocated to cure certain issues, be it social issue, pollution, or sanitary
We will
hygiene,
not
how
go to
much of it get
no, no. We would not go to other issues. We can have different routes for that.
right? No,
Focus
I'm just
remains on
saying,
the current issue. Yeah.
yes, on this issue, yeah, on the current issue, there has to be reforms that needs to be done. Otherwise, these issues
And
would continue to circle around
what
us.
is your suggestion, Dhoni?
The suggestion is, if you look at it, the because the opponents keep bringing the Varna system. So I'm just gonna quickly, in 2 minutes, I will say this. So government has reformed the Kshatriya Varna system and the Vaishya Varna system. You need to have license to start a business. You need to follow certain protocols. Same with Kshatriya. If you need to join army, police, you need to have certain qualifications, eligibilities are there, trainings are there. It has been regulated heavily. However, if you take the other two Varna systems, nothing has been done much. There has to be proper opportunities for people to get in, learn, get tested, get eligibilities, get certified, things like that. Otherwise, the old practice is going to continue. On one side, it could be the priest class that gets abused, or on the other class, it could be the working class of the society who are getting exploited. Both things are happening, right? And literally, the politicians don't get to make money out of these two issues. They just use this for election campaign. That's it. So proper, training institutes, proper opportunities for anyone, to any Hindu, any deserving eligible a brother sister, to learn Veda, to learn anything that has to be done, and whatever verses or whatever books that are not appropriate to this time, it can be applied, and that has to be removed. Abrahamic religions also don't do that. Actually, they have a lot of verses that are hateful. So but they don't get called out quite often for that. That's fine, but we have to address our problems. So we need to reform, spend more time and energy. Ab- Unfortunately, politicians do not have um, enough to gain out of this, so they just make it as an election issue. And uh, for any society to continue, thrive, evolve, it has to keep growing. It has to self-correct. And for thousands of years, that has been denied to our land because of invasions. We have been firefighting the issues. Okay, we have been putting out fires. I know, like metamorphic, like as an analogy, I'm telling, the invasions after invasions, you don't have time to self-correct, reform the society. And I think we are at the right point to ask these questions the right way. That way these get addressed, and I do have optimism and hope. Changes are starting to happen, and it has to continue in a better intensity, to heal ourselves and the society. Thank you. I'm done. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. So maybe let us do something. It's quite late for me. Neeraj, you want to
I
run
just
it?
said I will. I can I just
Just 1 second.
sum up
Yogi,
in
Yogi,
a
just one
minute.
second. Yogi, just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Neeraj, you are there?
Yeah, I'm here, Andhranji.
Would you like to run it, or should we close it?
I mean, I'm fine if people have to speak. I can stay here for some time.
Okay. So, it's quite early morning for me, not late night. So I
Yeah,
would, like to that. Yeah.
sure.
So I'll,
I'll run it
you
for
please
some time
carry
and
on.
then I'll close it. Yeah,
Sure, sure, sure. And the recordings are on, so just make sure that, discussion is reasonable.
sure. Okay. Who was speaking?
Yeah. So this is Yogi,
Go ahead.
and this was a reply to Andolanji's question, about what is the response to people who don't understand, want, or who ridicule this particular system. First of all, again, coming back to the entire the purpose of this, uh, is moksha, is self realization, and trying to explain to those communities or those religions who have no grasp or who have no foundation or the aim of self realization. It would be really a kind of a waste of time, because for them it is only about artha and kama, is to kind of survive and then to anyhow indulge in the survive whatever they have acquired. And whatever dharma which they may be doing, that dharma is again going to reinforce their survival and their indulgence mechanism. Whereas when we are talking about sanatan dharma, the purusharth, the ultimate goal has been given as moksha. So when this, therefore these purusharth have to be seen as a purpose, param purusharth, the moksha, as the ultimate purpose, and the varna as a potential. So purpose comes before potential. You cannot talk about the potential of something unless you know what is the purpose of this thing. And where you forget about purpose, there is an abnormal use, there is an abuse. So when you can take an example of, you don't know the purpose of nutrition, maybe eating food, people may be kind of eating food for out of indulgence, just because they feel good and they want to relieve their stress, but they don't eat food to nourish their bodies and to kind of have that kind of relationship with the body and food. Then that would be an abuse of food. Same way goes with the relation, same way goes with the work. So when we don't know the purpose of being human, and these humans are being kind of classified based on their potential as uh, the kshatriya, the brahmanas, the vaishyas, and the shudras. So in every society there is going to be a class of these people, like worker class, they're going to be politicians, they're going to be soldiers, military class, whether it is US, whether it is Australia. It's just that they don't have this concept of moksha, because that is the human condition, the metaphysical aspect. And that is where I totally see from where Dhoni ji is coming from. Right now the reforms are going on a level, but it is not in the interest of any government to talk about moksha, because moksha is something which would be totally different way in which people would perceive. Right now it's all about kind of the basic needs of earth calm, and somewhat dharmic activities are going on, but those again are helping one to evolve to that state of knowing that I am that, and that is the highest state in the ultimate state. And that is something, if one kind of sees that this is what a human being has to kind of progress through and realize, then it becomes very easy of to kind of reconcile and to kind of have this understanding of varna vyavastha. Because at the end, even these varna vyavasthas are humans who have certain kind of potential, but the basic fundamental desire is freedom from limitation. Whether whatever kind of work he is doing, even Arjuna being an kshatriya, he was not well aware of the he had a complete role clarity, in terms of as a warrior. He was an accomplished warrior, a kshatriya. However, he was not able to kind of get the spiritual understanding of moksha, what this liberation means. And that is somewhere we may kind of train, educate people to become better in their roles, as kind of a businessman, as an artist, as an from various industry. But unless this focus is made that these are the means, these are not the end, or this is not the purpose. The purpose of being human as scripted by the scripture is to realize the true self. Unless that is firmly kind of acknowledged, appreciated, and lived in each moment, you cannot really kind of go around kind of living a sanatan way of life, which includes even this this kind of classification made on the potential of unique potential of people.
Well said. Um, what I feel that what has happened with the time, that people have started questioning, like, especially when I look at this socialist movement, or people who actually buy this socialist movement, they start questioning that, oh, this guy has something. How will I get it from him, right? Why he doesn't share with me? Or there are people who are looking at that to snatch from that person. So the point which I am trying to make is, we should be happy with wherever we are, and then we should leverage all the facilities, all the things which are available to us, all the resources which are available to us, and achieve what we want to. If there is any roadblock in what we want to achieve, and suppose we can't, then we can't blame anyone else. If somebody blocks you, says that no, you can't get it, then it's a problem. But when the system enables you, when the system gives equal opportunity of education to all, when the system gives especially after 1947, because that's when
when you have to look at India, you have to look at India after 1947, when actually we got power and actually when we made the laws. Prior to that, they were like for centuries together. We were fighting the Islamists. We were fighting the Britishers. So during that point of time, when they introduced caste system in our society, it was it was done. It was a design to destroy our societies. And then in the last 60, 70 years, the communist education has uh, leveraged that. But Yogi ji, when you were saying that we don't need to respond to it, uh, I feel that sadly we are in a society or in a world where we may have to respond to it. We have to tell them what we are. Caste is an alien concept because in India we all belong to one race. Even the organization which is being vilified, RSS, it says that our DNA is same. So when we say that our DNA is same, then you cannot tell us that we have different races, because caste has no relation to the jatis. Jatis are based on occupation, and I believe this is how Andolanji was asking this question: that how will you explain it? I think the explanation will be that we have occupational jatis. Caste has no relation when it comes to India, because we all belong to one race. And then you can go to Varna if you have to, but Varna is a very old system, and the current system does not support that Varna system. So there we go. The current system allows everyone to do whatever they want. Yeah, I think that's the best explanation which comes to my mind. Caste is an alien concept. We have jati system which is based on occupation. And third, no occupation is bad, small or big. This is what we believe in. And as far as Varna system is concerned, that is an old concept which is not prevalent right now in India. So, I mean, if anybody thinks different than that, I believe it's a 3 or 4 line answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dheeraj bhai,
Yeah.
I have something to say. I think Varna system doesn't differentiate between people. Varna, anyone can vote any Varna. That's what I believe. Uh, because I believe in Bhagavad Gita.
Rudraji, I believe your voice is not
Yeah,
coming properly. There's some
yeah. My
signal.
voice is not clear. Okay, so I believe Varna system. Has nothing wrong in it, and anyone can. It's not based on birth. Anyone can be in any Varna. That's what Bhagavad Gita says very clearly, and many of our scriptures say that unless they are man-made and all, right? So the Smritis might, different versions of Smritis might have different interpretation, but in fact, Hinduism, there is Varna.
I think there is some problem with your mic or something. It's not, it's, fade in between.
Oh, sorry, I
Yeah.
think I'm not
You
sure what
can
the
leave
issue
and
is,
come
but
back again.
yeah. So
You,
I'll try
yeah.
again. So Varna system, I don't anything wrong in it because it is not birth based. It is just occupation based. And Bhagavad Gita says that, and there are many smritis, right? Like smritis might interpret it differently, and there are many versions of smritis which, so they're not completely believable. That's what I believe in. As far as caste goes, every society has caste. Caste is a group of people, probably they intermarry with themselves. They form, small tribes.
Rudra,
That's how the term has
it's not,
has has come up.
it's
And
Rudra, Rudra,
yeah.
Rudra, man. Yeah, it's not audible.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
it's
I'll stop here.
like, voice is going down and up. So it's like, not, we can't comprehend it. So, I don't know. Anamika, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, no. So I wasn't sure. I'm not sure what he is trying to.
say, because I think if when you say there's nothing wrong in Varna system, that is not the point here. It was at ancient times when it was relevant, and Neeraj, correctly you said that's exactly what I said when some time ago I spoke for a brief bit. I was driving, so it's not really relevant anymore in everyday lives. Nobody is getting into occupations based on the varnas. You're not. It's not relevant in today's times. And the only time if it might even come into any kind of discussion or consideration is when you look for the similarity in cultural upbringing, your traditions, your festivals, way of celebrating things, the gods that you worship, the food that you make, which is there in in when you consider that for alliances, for marriage purpose and stuff like that, which people consider in general. Also regional, also you consider that we have a similar cultural background, you have similar language background, and tradition background, which is kind of easier for people to adapt. So we do have, and it is not just in varnas, we have different kind of traditions and cultures and ways of celebrating festivals in even different separate states in the country, for that matter. So I don't think it is it's relevant in that form of way that a particular varna has to go into particular occupation, or there is any hierarchy or treated any um you know different. I don't think we talk about wrong or right or whatever. It's just not practiced on a daily basis here. And whatever smritis and anything that I think Rudraji was trying to bring in, but I don't think that is a part of at least for what we know, that is not a part of every Hindu's upbringing and life. And it's different for other religions, because when we talk to them, their scriptures are definitely a part of their everyday life, and most of the people will say the same thing because that's what they've read, but that's not the case with us. So I think the way you summed it up is it's very simple and straight. It is not relevant. There is no uh, in terms of caste system, we don't have it in today's time, other than the fact that a particular economically backward section gets benefit out of it, but nobody in quote unquote seen from a privileged prism gets anything out of it. They only have to give. They don't get anything out of it. So I think that from that point of view, it's quite redundant. uh, but yes, in other religions, it is very it hasn't changed shape. There is different prism of looking at different people in us, and you again correctly said the race is the same. We do not differentiate between we don't have different theologies or different schools of thoughts or different definition of god and religion and everything, because in different varnas we don't have that.
Um, so I had some points. See, it's very easy not to kind of have that discriminative mindset against race, is because even when you see kind of a race based on the color or the nationality, or in terms of the skin color, one can kind of just kind of by looks itself, one can see that this is something which is different, but we are all humans, it doesn't matter. But when it comes to this varna classification, which I see is at something which is a division of labor. वरना itself mean आप जो वर्णन कर रहे हो, जो गुणों का वर्णन कर सकते हो, that is something which could be described. It is not something which could be seen. See, you go for career counseling, when Anamika ji was saying that that no one goes to no one is following this particular varna system based on people are doing whatever they want. I mean, someone who is inclined, who has passion towards being a soldier, he will be a soldier based on the varnan or the description of how that personality is playing out. Someone wants to be into the field of politics, who wants to kind of take leadership or kind of stance, who likes to kind of have that kind of mindset of arranging and administering. He would want to explore politics based on whatever kind of the varna or the description is being kind of made through his personality. So when even in modern age, when people go to career counseling, that is something which they are able to kind of see what is this personality shaping into, and then describe it, that this is how it may be helping you to get into certain fields and stream. And that is why, when you take away the Sanatan concept of this dharma, this Varna, that Varna is based on the potential which could be described, but before the potential the purpose comes, that the purpose of the potential is to realize the full potential. And there is corruption, there is no kind of, I'm not saying that corruption didn't happen
I'm
earlier,
sorry,
maybe.
Yogiji, because I'm interjecting. I'm very sorry, but because you mentioned something that I said, I'm unable to comprehend this. Varnan is description, we're talking about, and then Varna. Yeah, I mean, this is something. In my opinion, I think you're mixing this thing, because it is, if somebody wants to be a soldier and goes and joins the army, that has nothing to do with being born into anything, which is what we are trying to talk about here, that it's
So,
implied, that it's implied here, because you're not born. We have a very porous, not we have, we also had, when we had the Varna system, even then it was a very porous system. It was not etched in
so that's
stone.
what I'm saying, Anamiki, that it is Varnan means not that I say that you are this. I'm saying based on the gunas that are being Varnan, that are being described as this.
I don't know. I think
And that's
it's
where the
difficult
root
for me to
word
put a
Varna comes
Varna
from.
Varnan in
That where
that
the root
place.
word comes from, Varna.
Yeah. Okay. But
Varnan, something which could be described based on guna dharma. And then based on guna dharma, this person has got a scientific flair. This
if we
person has
talk
got
about
some
four
political flair.
varnas, if we talk about, there is there's Brahmins, there's Kshatriya, there is Vaishyas,
Hmm.
there is Shudras. So in today's date, are Brahmins going into anything in the field only because they are Brahmins? Is a Kshatriya going into anything martial or going into the army only because they were born in Kshatriya family? When this is the linkage we are trying to establish here, that it is not a given. It is not a given. That's why it is not relevant, because it's not a given. It is based on each person's ability, and as they grow up, the
So
entire
that's what I'm saying. I'm not
occupation
saying
field
that
is
it is
open to
given.
everybody.
Yeah, it is open to everybody, but you cannot one cannot do everything, right? One has to choose at the
Nobody
end.
says
For
one is doing
example, if
everything. Okay, maybe okay. Neeraj, I think you can take
ha,
over. I think I'm not understanding what he's trying to say properly. Yeah.
no, see, for any society to function, there has to be a proper way in which the resources, the potential has to be managed based on what the drive is. If someone forces, because someone comes from a doctor family, I want you to make you a doctor, but he says no, I want to become a film star, I want to go into films, because that is what the his personality is describing. Then he is very well go kind of free to go and pursue his acting in a kind of film career. But you have to remember the purpose is not to become a artist. You, through that role as an artist, you realize your soul, your true potential, your true self. And same way, someone wants to be a teacher, it's just not that because you are going to be a teacher you are going to be kind of respected. Of course there is some worth based on that as well, but every profession has its respect. However, the entire concept of Sanatan Dharma is to realize the Sanatan is something which is eternal, and through the temporary social roles, it is very much possible that one engages. Even Bhagavad Gita says that whatever profession you are into, whatever you choose based on your guna dharma, you can realize who you are. And that is something which is the beauty of this culture. However, I totally see that there was corruption which was done, and when fish starts to rots from his head, so maybe when the Brahmins kind of class, which kind of saw that just because we are in a state of power at that time, like how now, right now there is Vaishyas, the economy which is in state of power. Earlier it was military which was in the state of power during a world war. So this cycle of yuga, or this cycle of kind of system based on the cyclical nature, keeps changing. However, through this cycle, we have to know that something is beyond this cycle, and you have to come out of this cycle and this fera. And one who kind of sees it this way, that this is something, the purpose itself is to move out of this circuitous path, there's this that understanding of how you relate, kind of, with people who are of different color, caste, labor, because at the end you are on the path of oneness, and you see that there is no problem in accepting the differences, because those differences are seen as the beauty, which
Okay,
add.
I think it's no, no. I think it's just getting too complicated. In my opinion, I think it's a little disconnect from the actual subject of the room, because it is going. It's basically there's a lot of layers here, and it feels like it's a web. But on a very plain simple fact, I think it's a little disconnected. It's talking about a much general society and general things, but we're talking about something more specific here. So for me personally, it feels like a disconnect from the subject. But yeah, I mean, if then I think let's like we can leave this at this, and maybe someone else can go.
Yeah, I'd like to go. So about this subject, let's see what the Indian state currently, the approach to caste or varna of the Indian state today is. So our governments, our the revenue department and all, they issue caste certificates, and they actually come and verify whether you belong to a certain caste or not. There are even like subdivisions based on which individual caste you belong to. Like in my state, the backward caste reservation, it is divided into A, B, C, D, E subcategories. So if you come from the washerman community, you would go into BCA. If you belong to some other like say Yadav or some other caste, you would go into BC D or something like that. So caste is not a pariah for the Indian government. Like they actually recognize caste, but they have recognized caste in such a way that they have classified caste into being forward or backward. And based on that, if you come from certain caste which they saw as being underprivileged or being backward, then they try to help you to overcome that kind of social backwardness. These are terms which the government uses: educational backwardness, social backwardness, economic backwardness, and these kinds of things. So everything they have connected it to the current parameters of well-being, which are mostly in terms of being like either it is per capita income wise, or it is land holding in rural areas, or it is literacy rate, or it is number of graduates, and these kinds of things. They do consider the scriptural social status in society and all of that. So there are many castes today which are land owning castes, which have a history of being uh, feudal lords and working for militaries and all of that, but they want to be recognized as backward caste just because they belong to Shudra Varna. So you have the Patels who agitated for reservation in Gujarat in 2015. You had the Jats also who agitated for reservations and all in Haryana. Like like that. You have Kapus, for example, in Andhra Pradesh, who want to be included in backward castes. Like that across the country, this is there. Like which caste deserves to be given reservation, which caste is actually Shudra, which is not, and all of that. So does being in Shudra Varna actually mean that a caste is really backward or they were underprivileged and all of that? Because if you see, owning a land, is that more big thing in today's this thing, or owning acres of land, especially in rich agricultural zones, is that more this thing, or having some knowledge of Vedas and having some privilege to do death ritual or birth ritual and that of thing, is that going to give you more money privilege, or is owning land going to give you more privilege? Because 1 acre of land will cost 4 crores or 3 crores in very important zone. No matter how many death rituals you do in a month, no matter how many marriages you perform in a month being a priest, you will hardly earn 10,000, 20,000 in a month. So there is no comparison with today's standards and what the Varna system standard is. There is no comparison between that. Like, so our government stand, I think, is something which is lingered on into us also, because even if we leave our caste profession, we do kind of own it up, like while marriage we'll remember that, oh, I belong to so and so caste, hence I will marry within my caste only. Or if you are born into certain caste, like you have this thing about how you do your rituals also. A Brahmin will do his uh, Ganesh Chaturthi with more mantra part. Somebody else will do it with more family gathering and more, what do you say, prasadam and all of that. That will be more dominating. Like that. Like it will be
Yeah,
show in some sort of way, in a subtle way. But it
yeah. I
doesn't
think
mean that people
Sriram.
will wear it and.
Yeah,
Ji.
you know, I think it was more of Andolanji's question. If somebody asks you a question about Varna system and caste system, how are you gonna respond to that, right? So I think if you guys can summarize on that, and then we can close this room.
So if somebody asks me about caste, our people used
Yeah.
to have caste, and even today, like people, electoral politics is based on caste, and the Indian state recognizes caste. They give reservations based on caste. They issue caste certificates.
When did
Thing
our
is,
people used to have caste?
they
What was
just
the
don't
origin of
want you
caste,
to do
Sriram?
caste
Yeah.
discrimination.
So when did our people have caste? What was the origin of caste in our people?
Like people, they always used to be like caste, right? An
No,
elephant
don't ask
So
me.
maybe
caretaker,
what we can do,
Mahout, that is a
Anamika ji,
caste. A
maybe what we can
dhobi
do,
is a
Anamika
caste.
ji, we can,
Fisherman is a
ha,
caste.
ha. No, Shira, what you can do, you can respond your point, and Anamika ji, you can respond the way you want to respond to this question, rather than pushing each other. We can both put forward our way of point, and people can take it who's the what is the better response, and they can probably try to use it. That's the idea.
So the immediate caste thing is that is the most tightly binding identity in the society. It's not your regional identity, or it's not your varna or whatever. Like varna is only used in the scriptures. Nobody goes around saying I am Shudra, I am Shudra, I am Shudra like that. Varna, if you see like that, 80% society is Shudra only. All the farming communities, artisan communities are all Shudra only, right? So the most tightly binding thing is your single individual occupation or whatever clan, caste group which you belong to. And it is some are occupation based, some are titular, some are like Jats or Gujars or Patels. Some are like they have come about as, you can say, uh, more clan type of groups. They have indulged in multiple occupations. They have served for armies also in medieval India. They have worked for other things also like that. So was it? It was always there, right? You do find in our scriptures also, in even say Kalidasa's poetry also, you find mention of carpenter, a mahout, somebody who takes care of horses, cattle rearer. These
Shriram,
are all castes. Barber,
can you
washerman,
Google,
fisherman.
Mr. Shriram, can you Google caste and tell me that what is the meaning of caste?
No, the term caste,
In the
I know where you're taking it. It is
meanwhile,
Portuguese
let
word.
me.
But can I suggest something, Neeraj?
Yeah, Andolanji, great answer. I
This
already
is
said, but
Ha. No, that's
I think
okay. But that's okay. No, no, no. Hold on. My point is slightly different. What I'm saying is, if Sriram still wants to respond the way he wants to do it, fair enough. I mean, you can't stop him, right? You can't change his
no,
mind.
I can't
Let him
stop it.
po
But
ha ha. Ha. But what I'm saying is, he can say what he would respond, how he would respond in 180 seconds. You can come back and say,
he's
this
speaking
is
for the
how I
last
would
five
respond.
minutes, Andolanji. He's
Ha.
speaking
So
for 5
Sriram,
minutes. It's
you have
not
to
making sense.
conclude. Ha. You have to conclude. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. That our government recognizes it, and there is no discrimination. Like if you discriminate, they'll take action against you. But they recognize it, but as something that is prevalent in the society, and they give you a fillip if you come from recognized backward communities. Yeah.
Before Sriram, it was Yogi who was trying to do the same thing. I mean, I don't understand when you talk about Jats. And Jat is different. When you talk about Dogras, it is different. Dogra is a community in itself. When you talk about Gujarati, it is a completely different thing. We have different kind of ways. It's based on language, region, communities. That is not caste. When you do a dictionary meaning of caste, it means race. And in India, we are one race. Even RSS, the organization which they always blame that, oh, it is biased and all that, Even RSS says, and that includes everyone, they say that we all have the same DNA, we are one race. When a community says that, when is such an organization, and we all believe that we are one race, isn't it? So when we say we are one race, then nobody can push it down our throat that caste, you have caste system. How come we have caste system? Caste system means that we are different races. We are not a different race. We all are Indians. Number one. Point number two. Okay. Point number two. We have jatis. And that jati vad is discrimination based on occupation, which is absolutely wrong no matter what society it happens. Jati is equal to occupation. And over a period of time, what happened, that the occupation stayed in one family or one group of families. That's how this jati continued. But now it is irrelevant. So this is how our response should be, that today jati system is irrelevant, because today anybody born in any family can go and join Indian Army, Defense Forces, police. Same goes for any other profession. Suppose I'm a software engineer. So software engineer is service class, right? And service class is nothing but Shudra. By the Varna system, if you want to look at me, I am a Shudra, right? But I may be born in some that irrelevant jati system, which you may call that family names and all that, and nobody can get rid of their family names because it continues over a period of time. But the jati system and the discrimination based on jatis or occupation, that is irrelevant anymore, because our occupations have changed. Somebody may be born into a Brahmin family, but actually he's working in software industry, so you can call him Shudra by occupation. If you want to implement Varna system is irrelevant today. So Varna system is irrelevant. Jati is a remnant of the old thing. Discrimination based on jati is something which we have laws for that in our society. So since 1947, when we got the powers, when we made the constitution, prior to that it was Britishers, prior to and then before that we were fighting these Western oppressors. So where does this whole thing comes from? So today, if I am working in a software industry, I fall into the Shudra thing. Do you think that I am oppressed? So we have to come out of this thing that I don't know. We all are educated. We need to educate ourselves. What jati is, what caste is, what varna is, what is relevant, what is not relevant. Yeah.
So I'll quickly take only a minute
Okay.
or so. We're this is the crux of the problem, right? Because if you look at it, the way you want to go back to Kalidas, you want to say he mentions as carpenter, this profession, that profession. In the West also, today also, you have people with the last name of goldsmith, blacksmith, this shoemaker, all kind of names that you have. It is all coming from those times when it was based on occupation. The last names are based on occupation. Last names are based on cities, the regions, the countryside where they came from. So just because somebody has that name Smith doesn't mean that they're still in the same occupation. But that's the surname, last name that continues generation after generation, and it will continue because it becomes your identity. All right, you don't just peel off your skin; it becomes your identity. But you're not in that profession anymore. So profession based, classification is different. So back in those days, before the invaders and everything, back on those days in our ancient scriptures, there were different clans. Yes, because they were all doing a similar kind of profession, and that is why they're worshiping gods, and the cultures and the rituals, all of them were also pertaining to that particular class. Like me as a whatever you call, from the jati or the varna point of view, it doesn't matter what I am, but I've been a merchant all my life. So I've been into business. So basically which you call from the jati perspective, is that you call the merchants, you call them as vaishyas. All right, doesn't matter you're born in a Brahmin family or a Kshatriya family or a Shudra family, it doesn't matter. But as per profession, I've been a merchant all my life. But then we have been doing, the on Diwali we'll do Lakshmi Puja, but on the next day we'll do Vishwakarma Puja also on the factory. Hamare mein we don't have the Vishwakarma Puja in our rituals, right? But we do it because that's the machines and tools God, which had been practiced by that particular clan from back in those ages. So there is a respect for each of them. There is no looking down at anybody. It is just a different practice. But when we enter into the machine tools, we also worship that god. So the thing is, there is a way of looking at it as what you can get from it, and then there is a way of looking at it as how you can attack it. So it's the perception how you want to look at it. And perfectly Neera summed it up, that it is not using for discrimination is always wrong, that time, this time, whatever. But in the when we are running our country ourselves, we have all the laws to protect if there is any discrimination. In fact, it is a lot of appeasement, in fact more than that going on, lot of privileges given, so that they can be economically uplifted. So I don't think that there's any apology going around for caste, because we don't have caste from our history. It is a product of all the people who wanted to create a divide, because we did have these small sections, so it was easy for them to clan them, confuse them, set a narrative. So we are kind of just cleaning off the dust consistently, cleaning the muck right now. So I think we need to be very clear about whether we want to understand it or we want to only attack it. Only from that point of view only we'll understand it better.
If you can hear my voice now, so uh, I mean, the way I look at it, right? So caste is like more of a tribal identity, right? People belonging to a particular tribe, and they are classified into a particular caste, in the modern sense. So there are like, that's why there are like hundreds of castes in India. And, if you take a particular person, like people in my area recognize which caste I am just looking at. So there are certain features and there are certain DNA because the same bloodline continued for long. For example, Brahmins in my area, they can recognize them. This person is belongs to a Brahmin community.
आपकी आवाज कुछ कट रही है रुद्रा जी.
Yeah, may caste is more of a tribal identity. So एक tribe है, a group of people है, probably they used to live in one place before, and they have similar characteristics even now. It is DNA sits on our nose, right? So many times you can identify which tribe the person is coming from just by looking at them. So in my area, if people look at me, they will say you belong to this caste. That's how these castes have come. It's just like a tribal grouping, nothing more
वेरी
than
गुड
that.
पॉइंट रुद्रा जी. सो नीरज जी, आपने अभी देखा, नीरज जी, अनामिका जी, 5 मिनट के अंदर क्या हुआ. 5 मिनट के अंदर ही नीरज जी ने कहा कि ये रेशियल आइडेंटिटी नहीं है. रुद्रा जी ने कहा नहीं, ये रेशियल आइडेंटिटी है, शक्ल देख के पहचान सकते हो. जो भी हम व्यू पॉइंट यहाँ पे दे रहे हैं,
Yes, yes,
मैं हेलो, हाँ आपकी आवाज कट रही है रुद्रा जी. तो नीरज जी,
it's more of a tribal identity, not a race identity. Like within the can be different groupings. We all belong to the same race, like our DNA of all the Indians match at a high level. But if you go internally, there will be slight differences. That's how these tribes are formed. Every country has tribes. Pashtuns in Afghanistan, Tajaks, Uzbeks, every country has tribes. So they belong to a particular bloodline because of the way they have been marrying for generations. So there are distinct features within a particular caste. If you see, unless there are intermarriages, any caste you see, even SCs, STs, BC or OC, any community you take, there are distinct features where we can identify. I think that's what caste is, and beyond that, I don't see any relevance.
हाँ नीरज जी, एनी रिस्पॉन्स टू दिस.
आई थिंक मुझे लग रहा है रुद्र जी बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं सेम थिंग जो मैंने कहा कि रेस, कास्ट इज इक्वल टू रेस, और वो कह रहे हैं कि जब आप किसी को फेस देख के आप बता सकें कि ये इसकी रेस है, जो इंडिया में होता नहीं है, तो
वो ये
इसलिए
कह रहे हैं कि नहीं, इंडिया में होता है, आप देख के बता सकते
नहीं,
हो कि
मैं
कौन
कैसे,
किस जाति का है.
मतलब कम
हाँ
ऑन रुद्र जी, अगर
रुद्रा जी
आपने
ये कह
कहा
रहे हैं,
तो
रुद्रा जी ये कह रहे हैं. हाँ मैं नहीं कह रहा हूँ, रुद्रा जी कह
नहीं,
रहे हैं.
तो वो नहीं कह रहे हैं
हाँ.
वो. आई
अच्छा
डोंट नो
रुद्रा जी,
रुद्र
एक
जी,
बार क्लैरिफाई करेंगे आप.
कास्ट
Yeah,
इज रेलेवेंट
maybe
कि आप इंडिया में किसी की शक्ल देख के बता सकते हैं कौन सी कास्ट का है.
मेरा area में like probably I don't know, in south I think they can tell, like particular person is a Brahmin or not.
I
Particular.
don't know, man.
It's not
Rudra.
a
Sorry,
laughing
I
matter,
can never
नीरज
say
जी.
that. I'm
हाँ
very
नहीं
bad
नहीं
at it then. मैंने कुछ नहीं पढ़ा
तो
फिर तो.
हाँ पर इसमें एक चीज हम आपको बताए ना, यहाँ पे एक बार मैं फिर से कहूंगा, रिकंसिडर करिए जो भी व्यू पॉइंट नीरज जी आप दे रहे हैं या अनामिका जी दे रही हैं या श्री राम जी दे रहे हैं. Can you go to 10 people who come from Dalit or OBC background? Would they buy into what you're saying?
आंदोलन जी, आप बताइए कि आप किसी की शक्ल देख के बता सकते हैं कौन सी कास्ट का आदमी है?
पॉइंट ये नहीं है नीरज जी, पॉइंट ये है कि देर आर डिफरिंग ओपिनियंस.
आई डोंट नो, मतलब
भाई
ये अपना
हाँ बता
डिफरेंस.
सकते हैं, हाँ नीरज जी बता सकते हैं टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग.
Neeraj bhai, yeah, like in my area, there people will easily know. People looking
हाँ
at me will know which caste I belong to, because we have certain features like along big noses and all.
with
So
about
that's how
70%
more
of
fair
accuracy
in color.
I can tell who a
Yeah.
Khatri is.
हमें तो नहीं पता चलता आंदोलन
हाँ
जी, हमारा तो इतना मतलब
खैर वो पॉइंट नहीं है,
हम.
हाँ वो पॉइंट नहीं है कि बता सकते या नहीं बता सकते. पॉइंट ये है पीपल people like
So, Andalucci, did you just say
हाँ
that 70% people can look at you and say that you're a Khatri?
I can identify that in 70% of the cases with 70% accuracy if the guy is
Is it by
Khatri or not.
talking, or is it by or just by looking at somebody? Not, I'm not saying that you know
Just
the person, but just
yeah,
looking at somebody.
yes, just by looking at somebody.
Yeah, just by looks,
Wow.
I agree to that point.
How is
Just by
that
looks,
possible?
eighty
नीरज हम लोग
percent
तो
of the
कुछ नहीं
people
जानते यार.
80% of the people I go to exhibition and all, like different places, and people can identify you belong to this caste
I have never
very easily.
heard that
People can
before.
identify.
I have never heard that
Yeah,
before. I don't know how
या
maybe
can
मीन
you
not in
say
your
कि
Okay,
area,
क्या
but
not
वो
in your
क्षत्रिय,
area, but
कोई
in my
माँ
area,
ब्राह्मण
people
की
can do that.
नोज लंबी
अमी
होती है, उसकी क्षत्रिय की छोटी होती है, उसके कान बड़े होते हैं.
नहीं
I
नहीं
have not, I don't know,
मैं
maybe
मैं
Rudra
आपको
ji
एक
in
बात
your
बता रहा हूँ.
town
हाँ
और
पर मैं आप
city
नहीं आई एम नॉट
में
टॉकिंग
दूसरा
अबाउट.
होता
हाँ
होगा. मैंने तो कहीं नहीं देखा है. आप दिल्ली के बाजार में जाओ, जहां पर भी आपको जाना है, जैसे करोल बाग में जाओ, इतने सारे लोग शॉपिंग कर रहे होते हैं. आपको पता चलेगा कौन क्या है.
रोजी जी,
जम्मू में जाओ,
जब मैं जब
पता
जब
कैसे पता चल सकता है? व्हाट
आप
इज,
तमिलनाडु
इट
में
डजंट
जाओ
इवन मेक
मैम, आप
अरे
सेंस.
तमिलनाडु में जाओ,
जब मैं
एंड
में आया था,
ब्राह्मण
मेरे
को सभी लोग आइडेंटिफाई कर
अच्छा
लेते हैं.
पर मेरा
भैया
पॉइंट
मैं
वो नहीं है, मेरा
तमिलनाडु
पॉइंट
में
वो
आई
नहीं था.
वेंट देयर, आई वेंट टू
नीरज जी
कोयम्बटूर,
अरे
आई
हाँ
कुड नॉट
रोजी
आइडेंटिफाई.
मैम एक मेरा पॉइंट थोड़ा सा डिफरेंट है. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि एक ही रूम में 9 लोगों के बीच में देर आर डिफरेंसेस ऑफ व्यू पॉइंट. दैट्स द पॉइंट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से. आई एम नॉट सेइंग
नो,
आई डू नॉट वांट टू गो ऑफ
आंदोलन
टॉपिक
जी
एंड
सुनिए,
रोजी
देखिए,
मैम
आई मीन
एक
यू
पॉइंट तो
कैन
पूरा
जस्ट
कर लेने
कम अप.
दीजिए. हाँ एक पॉइंट मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि अभी इस टॉपिक पे ड्वेल डीप करके एनालाइज करें कि शक्ल देख के पहचाने जा सकती कि नहीं. दैट्स अ सेपरेट पॉइंट. अगर किसी दिन सीआर पे वो भी डिस्कस कर लेंगे, राइट. तो पॉइंट ये है कि डिफरेंसेस ऑफ ओपिनियन है विद इन द रूम. दूसरा मैं एक बार वही कह रहा हूँ, जो भी हम लोग ये जो 120 सेकंड 180 सेकंड की पिच दे रहे हैं, ये बोलना चाहिए. डू वी वांट टू टेस्ट इट इन फ्रंट ऑफ पीपल हु आर नॉट लाइक अस? वुड दे एग्री? हमारे अपने हिंदुओं में कंसेंसस बनेगा क्या उस आर्ग्यूमेंट का? दैट्स माय पॉइंट.
I just had one of that yesterday because we had the people, my husband's colleagues were home for dinner, and मुझे नहीं पता था that one of them was a Pakistani Muslim, and obviously senior management, they're all the CEO level, everybody, so very well educated, very well positioned, but you will believe it or not, I mean they all 4 of them were one level junior. They were part of my husband's team, so they're one level junior. So obviously, talking to me, and also they'll be little. You'd assume they'll be little, careful, more careful. But he did not mince words in actually asking me about the untouchability, which was very surprising because you don't do that in this kind of in atmosphere and surrounding. And I also had to be careful about the answer, and I very clearly said that I am. So we talked about it, and I let them know what the caste is. And in fact, there were the other colleagues were Caucasians and Indian Americans, Hindu Americans. Okay, They all heard as like they had no idea about it. And when I did say it wasn't there, he was himself very surprised. He said, "I didn't know that this was not a system of caste." So I had to, like 5 minutes. It was not 180 seconds or 120 seconds. It was a 5 minute and maybe 7 minute little discourse had to be given to them. So we have to do that, say that at the same time, not go overboard. No need to dig out the whole scriptures and smritis and read out to them, but we have to just give a gist of what it is. And as long as we stay true to the facts, I'm sure all of us will be clear in sending out the message. It's only when we confuse it so much, attach a lot of unnecessary layers, that we mess up the whole message. And I think that's something we need to learn, to stay simple and straight with the fact.
So
Yeah,
मेरा
एक
हाँ
सेकंड,
रोजी जी
एक
आप
पॉइंट
बोलिए
मैं
हाँ.
बना लूं, एक सेकंड में बना. When we are outside of India and Pakistan, you go to a gathering, desi gathering, जो भी कुछ हो गया. We cannot distinguish who is Pakistan unless they start talking crazy stuff. You cannot even distinguish who is Pakistani, who is North Indian. We look so similar. So how can we distinguish ये शूद्र है, ये वो है, ये वो है? मुझे तो
That's a
कभी कभी
separate room
पाकिस्तानी.
discussion, Rosie ma'am.
No, no, I was doing, contradicting what Rudra said. We cannot,
No, I
and there are
slightly
Middle
agreed with
Eastern
him.
people.
I slightly agreed with him.
Yeah,
For
okay.
example, Jats,
But
ma'am, Jats are in Pakistan, Jats are in Punjab, Jats are in UP. We can identify them quite easily.
I don't know, maybe you
The
have a
way they,
special
I
eye or something,
I just
special
Rosie,
This
vision.
Rosie,
identification does not mean
just
discrimination, or because there is gender
Identification, yeah,
No,
identification
no, no, no.
also.
Hold on. I think our discussion
uh,
suddenly degenerates into something else. We are not
yeah,
talking about identification and discrimination. We are, वो एक अलग रूम का टॉपिक है, नहीं तो पूरा डिस्कशन
I agree.
अनवर्ल्ड हो
This is
जाएगा. हाँ.
Varna based on
Rosie, but I just want
identities
to
only, right, Andolanji?
okay,
Because at the end, we are
let
dealing with
me
an
break this Rosie.
identity issue of what
God.
exactly a person is trying to kind of live with. And then when Rudraji is mentioning about the race, which is also an identity, which could be described based on kind of, one's color
What is
or
your
whatever
race, Yogi?
kind of,
What is your race?
no, I
You
don't know. You can call me. I don't know. I've never seen someone through that race aspect, but whatever my understanding comes, that I can
then
see there are
stop
black
this whole
people.
thing, right? Wait a second. Let me say
No,
something.
what I'm saying, what
I'm
Rudraji
saying,
was
wait a
saying
second.
is
Do you know what is your race? We all are Indian, right? One race. I'm saying one point. Rosie ji, when I came to Jammu, people called that, oh, he looks like Kashmiris. He must be a Kashmiri, okay? When I came to Delhi, somebody said that, oh, he's tall, he's like 6 feet, he must be a Jat. I mean, what are you talking about? The whole country, we look like, we are similar. We look similar. You can't look at someone. I went to Bangalore, I stayed in Pune, I married in West Bengal. What are you talking about? I go to various places, I find people like me everywhere.
no, Neeraj ji, you are taking me the. I'm not saying that race
एक
is
second,
something
एक
which
second.
needs to be
Yogi ji, एक
taken as
second,
a
एक second.
discriminative factor.
Forget
I
about
also
forget
Uh,
about
can
Indians.
I
Forget about
just come
Indians.
in?
Many
Just
Middle
can I
Eastern
just come in?
people,
हाँ, रोजी
many
जी.
Middle Eastern people are confused as Indian. Many Mexicans are confused as Indians. So
True.
आपको जब इंडियन, मैक्सिकन, मिडिल ईस्टर्न, पाकिस्तानी का पता ही नहीं चल रहा है, तो आप उसमें से इंडियन में से घुसाए जा रहे हैं
नहीं
क्या
नहीं, कोई
यार? ये
घुसा
तो
नहीं रहा
फालतू
है,
की
कोई
बात है.
घुसा नहीं रहा है. एक मैं ये कह रहा था, देयर इज डिफरेंस ऑफ ओपिनियन प्रेजेंट विद इन आवरसेल्व्स. I was not saying that what he's saying is 100% correct or what he's saying is 100% wrong. No, I was not making that point. I was making a point that there is difference of opinion, when we respond to a point. Is
And
there?
that is primarily because we want to prove who's more intelligent and who
I,
has more understanding of subject, who can say more lines, and who can complicate the matter further. A lot of it is to do because of that only.
Exactly.
no. That is
योगी
not
जी एक
for that
मिनट,
sake. That
योगी
is
जी
for
एक
better
मिनट, योगी जी
understanding.
एक मिनट. हाँ
It is.
हाँ, एक सेकंड योगी जी. नहीं नहीं, अनामिका जी, हम लोग जो डिस्कशन कर रहे हैं ना, एक जब हम ऐसा कोई पॉइंट बोल रहे हैं जहाँ पे आपस में कंकरेंस नहीं आ रही, तो क्या कहते हैं, ग्लोबल स्टेजेस पे भी तो वही होगा ना. आप कुछ और बोलेंगे, मैं कुछ और बोलूंगा, योगी जी कुछ और बोलेंगे, रुद्रा जी कुछ और बोलेंगे. Somewhere it's not just about intelligence, but It's also certain facts that we need to get in perspective. We have to also take feedbacks,
Important. We
isn't
also
it?
have to be cognizant of the fact that when we are saying and representing a billion plus people, then we have to be clear about what we are saying, because if just to prove that, I am looking at it from a very narrow prism of where I live, in my neighborhood, in my city, in my community, in my gully, in my mohalla. So I want to basically copy paste or extrapolate that whole thought process into the entire civilization. Then you have to also take in the onus that this is what you're presenting to the rest of the world. So unless and until you are sure that is how it has worked in the entire civilization, unless and until you're sure that that is the history of the Sanatan Dharma people, then don't say things like this. At least don't say so detailed and so go into stuff and say which is not applicable to the entire so ये बात नहीं है कि मतलब मैंने आज ज्यादा बोल दिया तो आई नो बेटर. ये सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है आंदोलन जी. एंड दिस इज अ हैंडीकैप. इसी वजह से हम मार खाते हैं बार बार. ये अकल दिखाने की जो
Yeah,
चूल
yeah.
है ना, ये इससे मार खाते हैं.
Very, very truly said, Anamika ji. This is a problem with Hindus only. Instead of seeing, showing a collective as a group, we just want to outdo the others for whatever reason. But not, I mean, this is, I have been called anything but Indian in the West. I wait for the day, मैं तभी जब बिंदी बिंदी लगा के जाती हूँ तब बोल देते हैं. अगर मैं वेस्टर्न क्लोथ्स पा के बात, कोई बोलता है इटालियन है, कोई बोलता है तू इजिप्शियन है. एक तो मेरे को अरबी में बात करने लग गया एक बंदा. बोलो 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 बोलो. I mean, and then somebody is coming and say, I have a hard time, I have a hard time accepting that, because what Neeraj said, and what I mean, I have been to Tamil Nadu. I mean, I could not figure out kaun kya hai. They were able to know that I am from the north, because I kind of look different and I'm very tall and almost 5'10". I'm 5'10", so they know, and I don't speak the language. So they were no, okay, tum north se ho, and they were trying to speak Tamil, and of course I could not, and all of that. Other than that, you go to the temple, are you able to tell who? I've never been able to tell. Maybe people who are able to tell have special vision. I don't have that. I don't know how many else people around here in the on this app or on the stage. How many people are able to tell Brahman from Kshatriya, from Shudra, from whatever else? We are, as I said, we are not even able
Let's
to
ask.
tell. We are from
Let's
another
ask.
same country,
Let's
Pakistan,
ask.
India,
If we
Egypt,
want to discuss it,
Italy.
if we want to discuss it, let's ask other people. Rosie ji. So, हाँ, Rudra ji and Mahesh ji and Arya ji and Manish ji and Sri Ram ji.
Sri Ram, are you able to tell?
Like you can in some ways. If it's a Brahmin woman, she would be wearing 8 yards ka sari. If it's non-Brahmin woman, they wear 6 yards ka sari. And like that, there are some thing in the way they dress up or what they eat, what they drink, and all that. Like people are, there are articles coming up nowadays based on that.
Arya ji, what's your viewpoint? Manish ji.
A very difficult question, actually, Andalanji. But I don't know where you guys are trying to go, actually.
I didn't wanted to
It's a
go
very
there,
controversial.
but I didn't wanted to go here, but let's take feedback.
Okay, just to support the argument, like I can say my few points. Those guys who are working in the field, they're hardened guys. By their hands, by their look, you can find out who these guys are. And those are working in temples, or maybe those are our teachers. They are not that much hardened, so you can't see them, and you can tell them, they are like sitting like a softy guys, and they can't really work very hard. And those who are masons making a building, or or maybe who are rearing in animals, the work in field and all, they're very strong. I'll give you my argument. My friend, he's a very avid golfer. He is not tall. I'm much taller than him, and he's not. Uh, he's very thin, much thinner than me, but he weigh almost 10 kg more than me, just because his bones are very, very strong and hard. So these guys, who kind of work they've been doing.
uh, they look different, they are different, their body structure is different. So these differences I can see, but other than this, I can't see anything else.
Can you, if you go on the street and somebody, can you figure out Indian में से ये Indian Kshatriya है, ये Indian Brahmin है? Can you figure that out?
See, it's hard actually, because
Yes
these
or
kind of,
no?
no,
Yes or
we
no?
can't. No, we can't. Just like that, we
Okay.
can't, because people don't work according to that. Kshatriyas are working in college, they're teaching, and Brahmins are working as a cleaner. So you can't make
So
a
let me
difference
ask you
actually.
one question, Manish, straightforward. Would
Yeah.
you be able to identify if somebody is a Banya or not?
Banya or not? Okay. But the again question. So
It's a straight
you
question.
might say me, Andolan ji, a Banya sitting in a shop, you can identify. But Banya is a corporate senior guy. You can't make out. He's a Banya. So
मतलब अगर 10
no.
बंदे आपके सामने खड़े करे जाए और आपको
Huh.
आइडेंटिफिकेशन करनी हो तो आप 70% 80% आइडेंटिफाई कर लोगे कि ये बनिया है कि नहीं?
डिपेंड, अगर वो अपना वो दुकान पे बैठ के काम कर रहा है तो
नहीं नहीं, ऐसे
पहचान लेंगे
जैसे
उसको।
पुलिस के सामने रिमांड होती है ना।
नहीं, नहीं
हाँ,
कर पाएंगे, नहीं कर पाएंगे,
अच्छा,
आंदोलन जी नहीं कर
ठीक।
पाएंगे, no।
Yeah, I have a thought on this actually. The
Banya.
reality of us sitting here in 2022 and talking about this, and it's what I'm gonna say might sound a little bit too direct, but I think it's better to have it said. The fact that we're talking about this is the reason India's GDP is 3 billion instead of 10 billion. It's the reason that India is behind China and the United States.
That's okay. That's okay, Anup. We decided to
No.
talk about
And
this. So
let me
that's
finish.
okay.
Don't
Yeah.
interrupt me, please. Let me just finish. I'll just make a very quick point. Because if we sit here and we're identifying and pinpointing what community this person is from, what language this person is from, what vocation this person does in 2022, I'm telling you that is the reason why Indian society is being held back. Because in America, the way it works in America, everybody's freaking different. Everybody's from different places. Everyone knows that. And everybody works together as a team, and in whatever space they're in, they make it the best that it possibly can be. In China, everyone's blaming China for a lot of human rights violations. Fine. They have lifted their GDP to 19 trillion. How have they done it? Everybody just shut up and got to work. And they
The
worked
point taken,
really,
Anup ji.
really.
Point taken. But
I'm just
since you
saying,
don't have the background to the discussion, so
I'm just
probably
saying,
you're
no, I
making
have
this.
plenty of
Yeah,
background in Dolan. But I'm just
yeah.
saying, in India, we are stuck at 3 trillion, and we have conversations like this.
So
It's just
that's okay.
absurd, in
That's
my
okay.
humble opinion.
That's okay, Anup. That's okay. Point is, we are having a conversation, so there is a conversation, right? You may disagree that we should not have this conversation, but the point of the matter is that we are having this
I know you're
conversation.
having. I'm
Uh,
just telling you that
yeah.
there's a
So
context
so
behind you
so
So
having
there
so
this.
is there
so
is a
yeah.
context to
There's
this
a
particular
context behind you
discussion.
having this.
So
Uh,
Andolanji, let me make little change in the discussion, because I was not comfortable with the things we're discussing at the moment. So coming back to the Varna system, can I put my point on it?
Go ahead.
Why
Go ahead.
Varna systems? So we are talking about
मुझे
Hinduism, and
10-30
Hinduism has
सेकंड देंगे
this.
मनीष जी? 30 सेकंड देंगे मनीष
Okay,
जी?
okay, okay.
हाँ, अच्छा, Anup, what you just said, about Indians discussing this thing and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, is precisely the point world is raising for us, and this is what we want to respond. And I think you made the point clear that, yes, that's a problem.
And Dolan, the thinking is backwards.
And I
The
agree with
thinking
you.
is backwards.
I'm agree with you.
The reality is
And
this.
I agree with
No,
you.
no, I know you agree with me. The reality is this. We're all Indians. That's just how it is. And all these tertiary identities are not something that you sit around and dissect.
Point taken,
A
Anup.
rational.
I think, that's precisely the reason I didn't want it to go into this debate, of this
It
thing.
always will, and
But,
Dolan.
but
That's
Anup, what
my
we're
point.
trying to do
Always
out
will.
here is, which is precisely, if we ignore a conversation, it is gonna come to us, right? If we don't want to do it, somebody else will bring it to our face. Then we have to respond. What we are trying to do out here is to gain a concurrence on the response.
I'm just saying you're running the exact same room theme that the Pakistanis are running right now. It's the exact same
Yeah, I
thing.
know that.
But anyways,
That's precisely the reason I'm running this room, because they are running
no,
it.
but see, they're running it. The reason they're running it is they have 5 buttons they push against India. Okay, one of those buttons is the caste button. Another button is Kashmir. Another button is Khalistan. So you're just allowing the trap of their thought leadership to be projected and their thought leadership to be basically come to the forefront. I'm just saying that's fine. Look, you
No,
can talk
Anup,
about this.
I agree with your
You
viewpoint,
see
but the
I
point
know
which,
you. I
but which is precisely the problem we have been doing repeatedly. We are ignoring things, and that is why they are coming in a larger way
That's
to
right.
us.
So let me
If we discuss, so
yeah.
just
Go
hear
ahead.
me also, Anup. You made several points. It's time that you spend some time listening to the viewpoint also, that why we are doing what we are doing. The basic idea was this rule, is that this questions is coming up. There were several people in this room. Is there anybody in this room who this question has not been asked to, either in a social media platform or face to face? Can somebody raise a hand जिसने आज तक ये क्वेश्चन ना सुना हो?
If you're asking how we should respond, it's very simple. We're all
No, no,
Indians.
just hold on,
We're
Anup.
all
Just hold on, Anup. Anup, just hold on. Right? Let me first get this point straight. Is there anybody in this panel or on the listeners who is an Indian and who has not heard this question, either in social media or face to face? I just want to understand whether this is a problem statement or not.
Can you repeat the question again, Andolanji?
Have this question been put forward to you? What is caste system in Hinduism?
Yes, time and again.
Time and again. Have you been able to effectively answer it?
No,
Question number two.
not been able to answer it
To
very
the best of
effectively.
my ability, yes, but it's a tough question. It's like asking about the same thing to uh, Europeans or Americans about.
No.
Yeah.
Atulji. But a straightforward question. Have you been able to satisfy the person who was asking this question?
So, to the best of my ability, it was a satisfactory answer. But the
You
other
tried.
person, but the other side,
Yeah.
they have most often they have their own prejudices and agendas.
Yeah.
So
Fair
not
enough.
even
Fair
willing
enough. Fair
to
enough. Fair enough.
understand.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's. So So Anu, now you understand why we are holding this room.
yeah. It'll take about 2 seconds to explain to somebody if they ask you. All right. Firstly, you don't. It's a trap
So hold on,
question.
Anup. No,
No,
Anup. I'm not
no.
asking you the
Look,
response to this question. I'm not asking you the response
no,
to this
We
question right
need
now. I will
logic.
give you that time.
I can give you
We
Anup,
the
need
response too.
logic
I've been.
Anup,
proper. We
Anup.
can't just
Just why?
defend ourselves on whims and fancies of others. You know,
Sorry.
I just want more knowledge about what we have in casting and why we have it and the proper way it was done and given to us, rather than just going and bashing them with and not being clear. And I don't want that. I want proper knowledge here. So it's very simple.
Yes. So Anup, you were there in this room at this start. We precisely. I have nothing against you. You can ask the questions why I'm discussing that. I'm just trying to answer why I'm discussing this question. If now that you have an answer to this question, which is reasonably satisfactory, go ahead. Take 120 seconds, 180 seconds to respond it.
Yeah, so I mean, I was here earlier. I mean, but this room has been running for 2 years, ever since Clubhouse started, and the response is very simple. Look, we're all Indians. We're all united. We are diverse, and we're in harmony with our diversity. It's really straightforward. But this answer is a answer for the 21st century. If you're thinking with a 20th or pre 20th century mindset about these questions and citing scripture and citing all sorts of things and basically convoluting the issue, then I don't know anything about that. That's very confusing to me. But in the 21st century, we're all Indians, we're all diverse, we're in harmony, and we're all united. It's very straightforward. um it takes a
Brilliant, Anup.
Yeah, and you know what? It takes a bit of maturity, I would say, for everyone to understand that everybody has different roles in society, and every single person must be respected. Must be respected. And I always respect the people that you would, the people who are doing the service work the most, because that is the toughest. I smile at them the most. I always give them as much tips as I can. I always do whatever I can, because the people doing service, they to me are the bedrock of any country, whether it's in the United States or whether I'm in Asia, whether I'm anywhere. These people, they are the most important. But every single person, every single role that's being played, they are equally as important. And we must not, you know, discriminate against or hold any prejudice against any segment of society, particularly Indian society, because that has been a trap for us in the past.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Fair enough.
Andalan, can
Just
I,
one second, Manish bhai.
before you
Just one
go,
second.
yeah,
Just one
yeah.
second, Manish bhai. Aldrin, you're not audible. You might have to exit and come back. It seems there is a glitch. Yeah, Manish, go ahead.
So, for the benefit of Anup, and he obviously he is raising his point because he has some concern. But let me put my thought on it. I think
Go ahead.
uh,
120
Surabhi
seconds is
also
all
asked this
yours.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, give me a
basically
little
my
more because I was
yes.
silent for a little longer. So give me slightly more.
So
So
180.
I'll tell you what my take. I'll give you my take on this. For a moment, we assume that okay, we it is given to us that we always have this Varna system or caste system. But for a moment, let us assume that during this caste system or Varna system, there was no discrimination and there is no oppression. We take it as a granted that there has been no discrimination or oppression, and we still have this Varna system. So why this Varna system came in, and what are the benefit of it? So Anup, let me tell you, uh, Hinduism, they don't believe in one life. They believe in hundreds and hundreds of millions of life. Who is, have a problem with the system? A religion which has only one life. We, as a Hindu, believe in that we were born before, we will born again, we carry our karma, and that we are born again based on our karma. So if you look at the holistic view, uh, we are not come to this earth only for one life. We are here forever, for long, long lives, many lives. And we are carrying our lives based on kind of work, good, bad, and ugly we are doing. So, just for a moment, imagine we don't have oppression and suppression in the Varna system and caste system. We, with this Varna system, we had the very good society. We got the kind of things we have developed in the past. In like, for example, uh, the temples we have created, the roads, buildings, ship industry. We got the one of the best GDP. Productivity was high. Knowledge, the kind of we had a surgery, done in India for long, long time back. We got mathematics, we got astronomy, we got so many things coming out of the system. These were the benefit of this Varna system. The pollution of oppression, pollution of this came in much later, or maybe I don't know when this came in. But imagine, Anup, imagine we don't have this caste system, Varna system. Discrimination will always be there in the society. You can't take out this discrimination. There could be discrimination based on color. This could be discrimination based whether you are north or whether you are south, or maybe based on your accent, based on your hair color. The discrimination
Yeah,
always remain in the
Manish,
society. Yeah.
Manish, I hear what you're saying,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Let me complete. Let me
go ahead,
complete.
go ahead.
So we have uh, the benefit out of it, and
Yeah, Manish, you're repeating
India.
yourself, man. I don't know what you want to make a point. Are you
Okay.
justifying discrimination? What is
No,
your
no,
point?
no, not discrimination. Sam, you need to listen to me. I'm saying
Yeah, I
that
listened to you
take
for
the
5 minutes.
discrimination oppression.
You're saying same thing again and again and again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay,
Get
So
to the point.
Let me summarize Manish and go to Anup and take a feedback and then go to Prashant. Also, Prashant ji भी ऊपर आए थे कि चले गए
so
क्या?
before you
हाँ,
summarize,
हाँ,
Abdullah, just one point I want to say, because I don't know whether I said it right or wrong. As a Hindu, we are talking about hundreds of life, not one life. And those who are
Yeah, this is
complaining,
also we have heard this before at least 2 times in
this is
past
only
five
one life they
minutes.
have. So that's their problem, not the Hindu problem.
Okay, so
Yeah, Anup,
very
just 1
quickly,
second, my friend. I
yeah.
think there is fundamentally have to disagree with Manish on a fundamental level. He is saying a caste system or Varna system. They're not the same, my friend. Varna is based on guna and karma. Caste or jati is based on birth. You're born into a caste or jati.
brilliant.
And Varna is based on guna and karma. I don't know what you're trying to say, Manish. Looks like you're trying to justify discrimination and oppression, trying to rationalize it, and trying to connect that with Hinduism, which is wrong. The discrimination
So,
has nothing to do with Hinduism. The jati system has nothing to do with Hinduism. Jatis were basically organically formed based on the economic activity. There are around 5,600 jatis in India. These jatis were not formed by somebody read a religious book and formed these jatis. No, these are based on religious activity. Fishermen have a jati, carpenters have a jati. Fishermen in north have a different jati, fishermen in south have a different jati. In that also, the fishermen who has a technology to go into deep sea fishing, those are a different jati. And the people who can fish in shallow waters and rivers, those are also different upajati. So there are a lot of nuances. It looks like you don't know much, but you're trying to say something, but you're
can I request one
and
thing, Sam?
yeah, go ahead.
A small request. Okay, in this room, what we're trying to do is slightly different. We are not trying to argue. What we're trying to see is how would somebody, what is the viewpoint of an individual? We are not going to crush his viewpoint. We're not going to abuse him for his viewpoint. We just want to surface what is his viewpoint. That's it.
Yeah,
So
but
let me
again, the
answer.
views should be based on some
Fair
facts,
enough.
right?
Yeah,
Sam, let
yeah.
him be wrong. Just one second.
Yeah.
Manishi, one
Okay.
second. My friend
Yeah.
Manish, 1 second. 1 second, Manish, right? So, what we are trying to do, Sam, is something slightly different, right? If we don't allow, and if we, push people not to speak their mind, we would not know.
No,
Just 1 second,
yeah,
my
yeah.
friend. Just 1 second. हिंदुस्तान में बोल ही नहीं सकता आदमी. तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि आपका अगर व्यू पॉइंट डिफरेंट है, रादर देन सेइंग कि मनीष रॉन्ग, you can say this is Sam's viewpoint, right? That's how we want to run the room, or discuss this issue. We don't want to push somebody to agree to your viewpoint. We just want to understand, are there differences of viewpoints within our society itself? That's the idea.
Yeah, and I'll just echo a little bit of what I said earlier, in that everybody has different roles within the Hindu family. But here's a very harsh reality, and I don't think many people know this. You know about the attacks in Leicester. There have been some serious consequences to come out of that. One is that Hindu families have received threats of acid attacks on women. Hindu families have been forced to temporarily move out of Leicester. Hindu families have been asked to not display any Diwali decorations outside their homes. These sorts of attacks, they are universal. There is no mention of caste here. There's no mention of division. These are attacks against Hindus. And this is why I say,
This video was made possible by Creative Contents.